Good evening, everyone. I'm Shannon Rutherford, the town planner for Farmington. This is the town plan and zoning meeting. We will start with Commissioner roll call. Bob Canto.
Here.
Phil Cordero.
Here.
Josh Davidson.
Here.
David St. Germain.
Here.
Liz Sanford.
Here.
I will note for the record, regular member Peter Zarella is absent. Lisa Fagan.
Here.
And I will note our alternates, Rob Ingbertson and Taylor Pogson, are absent this evening. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's start by joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, welcome to the Monday, June 22nd, 2026 Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. Let's start with our, you want to read the notices? I'm sorry. That's right, we do have to appoint an alternate. Thank you for the reminder. Lisa, will you be able to act as a full member?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, now, public notices.
All right. Am I reading the postponement also?
That's a
Yes.
good- you do-
Yes, please.
Okay.
Because, yes.
Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission will hold a hybrid public hearing on June 22nd, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Annex, Council Chambers, 1 Monteith Drive on the following applications. Savan Porharton Babrudi, GG Mart, application for special permit and site plan approval for grocery store beer permit for gas station located at 1387 Farmington Avenue, B1 zone. And Jason Levesque, application for special permit and site plan approval for a new single-family home in excess of 2,400 square feet in living area and 3,200 square feet total area, and accessory structure in excess of 700 square feet at lot 8446 Main Gate, also known as 10 Main Gate, in an R20 zone. Interested parties are encouraged to participate in this hybrid public hearing. Participation in person is at 1 Monteith Drive, Town Hall Annex, Town Council Chambers, or online participation is via the link in the meeting on the Town of Farmington's website. A copy of this proposal is also available online on the town's website or by calling the Planning Department at Farmington Town Hall at 860-675-2325. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this first day of June 2026.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, the GG Mart is postponed until September 14th, 2026. Okay, let's start with new business. Winding Trails, Inc. Please come on up and we'd love to hear.
Hello, Scott Brown, 356 Parker Street in Manchester. I'm the Executive Director of Winding Trails and going to share some information on our roadway and parking lot reconstruction. I'll give you a little bit of background and then I'm going to turn it over to my friend and volunteer Jim Platosh for some of the more technical things. All right. So I'm assuming you may all know about Winding Trails. Some of you might have been members or are members, but we're right down off Route 4. We've got 380 acres. Started out as a day camp in the 40s, and now have kind of grown into this membership, group outings, school groups, group rentals, cross-country skiing, and the like. Currently serve about 10,000 members a year. I have a day camp that started today in the rain with 615 kids. We would like some better weather on that. But this project specifically is addressing the roadway and parking lot. So Winding Trails Drive is about a mile long. We repaved from Devonwood Drive to what we call the four-way stop at the Boathouse Pavilion back in 2011. The other loop through there, which is about 7 parking lots and another half mile of road, has not been repaved in the time that I've been there, and that's been 40 years. So it is showing its age. It's been expensive, crack sealing and whatnot. So this project will take care of that. and a number of other things. The primary focus is the addressing the old deteriorating pavement in those parking lots, but we hope, why you'll see in the plans, to improve the safety for the campers, traffic circulation and camper pickup and drop off, and additional organized parking. We're taking this opportunity to also, as a secondary issue, address some drainage, and not that we've had drainage issues, but we can improve some of those drainage issues. And the proposed design will add water quality benefits by adding water quality depressions and some infiltration trenches and strips. Beyond that, I'm going to let Jim Platosh, who is a past president and a member for 46 years and a professional engineer who has volunteered countless hours to put this plan together, and I'll let him share those things with you.
Yes, good evening. Jim Platosh. I reside at 27 Highwood Road here in Farmington. As Scott said, I know that most of you are familiar with winding trails, but for those that are not, let me walk you through the project area. If you could look at the graphic that's up, starting in the lower right-hand corner, if I could, there's a four-way stop, and that is a good marker for that is the boathouse. The project begins and ends there, and if you go to the right and up the hill, you're heading towards the caretaker's house. That's where the full depth pavement reconstruction starts. And as you go up past the caretaker's house, past maintenance, now you're into the heart of the project. This is where we're doing the majority of our work to improve safety and improve drainage. You could see at the top right corner, the upper square is Garmany Hall. To the left of that's what we call the lodge. And that first parking lot is there today, and it'll be there when we finish in essentially the same location. If you keep going a little to the left of that and you proceed down a hill, if you look to the upper left corner of that drawing, you'll see the parking lot to the tennis courts. And then to the right of that, you'll see a smaller parking lot to the Sportsplex project. And if you look to the bottom, there's a twin parking lot, which we call the beach parking. So the last three parking lots, the beach parking, the tennis parking, the Sportsplex parking, will be reconstructed in essentially the same location, the same configuration. And our primary goal is to rehabilitate the pavement. You'll see in a graphic that the geometry isn't the greatest for the existing parking area, but these parking lots are old. They've served their pavement life. We continue to maintain them, but they become a problem with the cost. So by repaving them, it'll give us a new service life. But essentially, when we get done with those three lots, they will look very much like what they do today. Shannon, can we go to the next graphic, please?
This one, or
Okay, so yep. So this is a close-up of the heart of the project. This is where most of our construction takes place, and this is where we get most of our safety improvements. If we could advance to the colored plan. So this is a graphic, and highlighted is what's there today. And when this first parking lot was built, it connected to Garmany Hall, and that was the only connection. And as you can see from the layout, it's not a very good layout. It's not a very efficient layout. Imagine 9 buses a day, twice a day, dropping off and picking up students, along with in excess of 150 parents dropping off students with this geometry. There's a lot going on in a very inefficient layout. So that's where the safety improvement for camp comes in. When you look at that parking lot, it serves its purpose, but as you proceed to the exit to that parking lot, and if you're familiar with the area, it's a very steep grade. Not only is it steep, but it's narrow. And if you imagine a school bus there, it's not a comfortable place to be with bidirectional traffic flow. And all of these things will be improved under this project. Shannon, if we could go to the next. So now we're going to look at the proposed colored up. And as you could see from the geometry, it provides a nice smooth curve. That curve gives us the opportunity to have a single lane for bus drop off and another lane for parent drop off in the camp season. And in the other off camp season, it'll be used for parking. Some of the grading will change going down that hill that I mentioned to the lower lots. It'll provide a uniform width, which will give passing school buses a better opportunity to move safely. The corner radius will be improved, make it easier for them to make the turn. So that's where the majority of our work happens. In terms of spaces, the new lot is 8 spaces, has a gain of lot 8 spaces, and that occurred in the middle row. Or Shannon, can we go to the proposed? Oh, let's go to the next plan, which compares the two. So what's important is if you look at the two together, you could see how inefficient that upper existing layout is compared to the proposed. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here, and that's where the majority of our work happens. Going to the next plan, I want to say,
It's a summary.
yeah, that's really the
I think
summary,
rest of this is text on this.
right?
So I can go back to the black and white.
Yes, if you could please, yep.
Of course.
Thank you. So looking at this plan, it provides a nicer layout. There's head-in parking along the northern side where people would go onto a sidewalk and find their way into camp. It moves the road away from Garmany Hall, which is the heart of camp, gives us an opportunity to provide some sidewalks for pedestrian circulation. And it's just a much better layout. As Scott mentioned, we're going to take the opportunity to make drainage improvements where we can. There's some depressed basins that'll act to improve water quality for runoff. And I want to say there's a total of 5, which is something we don't have today, which will give the opportunity to gather water and give it a chance to settle out before we discharge it. So that's a quick overview of the project. And with that, I'd rather spend our time focusing on your questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, now it's our turn. Bob, I'll start with you.
All right, thank you for the presentation. I can see the efforts that are causing this modification to put the safety in, because I've been up there before and it is a little bit hectic. Is this, what time frame are you looking to do this? Are you going to be coinciding with summer day camp?
Well, that's a great question. We struggle with that. We cannot interfere with camp at all. That's not an option. And the fall's pretty busy too. You've got some big events going on. But at some point we clear all those events when we get into about October. So the thought was we'd come in and around that late October, we'd remove pavement, do rough grading. We would restore things to a compacted surface, which will allow us to use the parking areas. We'll mark them temporarily. It won't be as efficient as pavement, but it'll still function, especially in the winter if we have skiing. So we'll get our parking throughout the winter. If we're lucky to have a good winter, we may get some work done, possibly get in some of the drainage improvements, although they're not a lot. But if we could get through the fall and have all the pavement removed so that when we return in the spring, when the construction season starts again, which is typically the beginning of April, the asphalt plant's open. And if we could be ready for paving, then we can get all the paving done within a couple weeks. And then there'll be, of course, some incidentals. The other part I missed was there's a bunch of concrete work. There are some sidewalks and other concrete features that we'll put in probably in the spring just before paving. So with that, our goal would be to have all the paving completed and pavement markings in and all done before the start of Winding Trails summer season, which is, let's call it June 1st. Okay. And it's a very doable schedule based on what we're doing out here.
Okay. What's going to be the method of operation? Are you removing it? Are you pulverizing it in place and regrading? What do you plan on doing with the existing?
So, yeah. So for removal of pavement, yes, we are going to mill it and then pulverize it. And then we're going to mix it into the subbase and reuse it. Now that's the existing pavement. In the upper parking lot, we'll be doing some grading. There'll be a little bit of surplus material. It's good quality material. We have a slightly depressed area behind Garmany and in front of the bathhouse. It's the depressed area that could use some fill to bring it up, and we would lose it in there, and of course reseed and grade it. It'll be a convenient way to make a grading improvement that could be used by camp for an assembly area.
Okay, so we're keeping everything on site then.
I'm sorry.
We're keeping everything on site. We're not trucking.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing will be trucked out. No.
Okay, is there any plans for lighting? Is there a lighting
Well,
schematic? That's
It's a good question. Yeah. So today there are two wood utility poles owned by Eversource in the existing parking lot. One on the right side and one on the southwest side. Our intent is to keep the one on the southwest side right where it is. It's fed overhead. And then the one on the right has to get moved. Where it is today would put it in the middle of the parking lot. So the intent was just to move it back behind the curb, behind the edge of the roadway, and keep those two overhead lights the way they are. We do not have an intent to add lighting.
I just think it would be a good opportunity to, possibly consider that, because that is a dark back parking lot.
It's an
Remember,
interesting
especially
comment.
like last blast when everybody's trying to leave and
Yeah.
you're shuttling, generators up there with lights because nobody can see what they're doing.
So you do know winding trails.
Oh, I know
Yes.
winding trails.
So that is a challenge, lighting. For many years, Winding Trails just closed its doors at night, and that was it. Last blast was an exception to it. Rarely do you have night events, but for when we do, for example, when we built, not many years ago, built the grill and right next to a lakeside pavilion, we added overhead lights that could be put on. In fact, overhead lights in all directions that gave the area a good amount of lighting, and that was helpful. We have some on the lodge. There's lighting on the lodge building, which functions the same way. There is a light in front of Garmany Hall, which puts a floodlight right on Garmany, and that does a pretty good job of lighting it. But it's lighting only good enough to see where you're going. It's not anything that it would not meet any kind of design standard. It's a challenge. The other side of that is if we add lighting, I'm certainly not an environmentalist, but it's my understanding that there could be an effect on wildlife, a negative effect on wildlife. So there's a balance. Scott, I know you're getting into the philosophy of how we operate, but the nighttime operations are rare, right?
Yeah, they are. Last blast the purpose, we do have that, and we don't bring in the generator anymore after we've added the lighting at the bathhouse, the boathouse, lakeside.
Yeah.
Good when we added a light just by maintenance as well. That's the dark border. We probably have half a dozen events that goes in. We joked years ago about putting lights on softball
field. It's a related subject that comes up internally is security. Not many years ago, we didn't worry if a building was locked. Now we talk about cameras and alarms, and it's a big concern. There's a lot to protect. There's a lot to lose. It's sadly the world we live in, and Winding Trails is not exempt from crime. Lighting is a deterrent. It's a known deterrent, and that's a check mark in the plus column of lighting it. I mentioned a negative impact to wildlife, but on the other side is the security aspect of it.
So the other question, just to wrap up, unless I think of anything else, but the drainage, if you're going to basically mill this over the winter and then pave it in the spring, are you going to maintain, the catch basins and all that, make sure it's properly maintained so that we don't have any
Sure.
effects of
So
runoffs and
the
stuff?
3 parking lots that are getting repaved, we do not intend to change the grading or drainage pattern, if you will. Whatever facilities are there now, we'll maintain, we'll grade it in a temporary condition to keep the same grading so that it does drain. The parking lot, the major parking lot, that will get some regrading, but at that point, we would have to, and we'd like to construct some of the water depression areas and take advantage of getting some kind of a filtration before runoff. One of the things we have going on for us here is the natural geological condition, the soil. You know, you can look at Dunning sand and gravel and see what we have here, which is really nice, pervious drainage material. So we are very fortunate that way that we're not worried about getting rid of water surface drainage.
I'm good for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil, questions?
Just want to say thank you for the presentation. This looks like some very nice upgrades to the facility, and I actually have no questions at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Josh?
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the presentation. Yeah, it looks like a great project for what is a great asset to the town, your organization overall. So thank you. I had a couple questions. Do you have any underground storage tanks on the property?
Underground storage tanks. We did have one for water. I know that it
Yes.
yeah, we do have a water tank that we use for
Well, down
irrigation.
holding tank for sprinkling the sidewalk
Yeah.
and softball.
Okay. But
Pretty
no
engineer-
fuel or heating oil or anything like that.
That's all, yeah, years ago, during very specific.
Right.
Great. My only other sort of questions and comments are about water quality in particular. So you may be aware that I think this part of the property, part of your property, and I think this part of the work area is in the Aquifer Protection District. Are you aware of what that is in Farmington?
In depth, no.
Okay, that's okay. Very briefly, so the aquifer protection, there are 3 different aquifer protection districts in the town. Part of Winding Trails is incorporated in one of them, and I believe this main area is at least partially in that. It doesn't apply mostly to your activities at all, but just speaks to the sensitivity of the area. And obviously you care about water quality. You've got a lake that people swim in and do lots of activities in, so I know you care. So my only questions are really just around sort of highlighting that and I guess asking questions or making suggestions around any contractors that you have on site and what, restrictions you may have and what we may want to put into, conditions for approval in terms of just preparations for any potential spills. Will fuel be stored on site? Will refueling be happening for bulldozers, excavators? What happens if a hydraulic hose bursts? Are they ready on site with the right spill material so it doesn't get into your lake, into the aquifer? As you said, it'll drain right down real quickly. So those would be the only sort of suggestions I guess I'd have if you'd be amenable to. I'm not an expert in what those exact things would be, but just wanted to call that out as an area that I'd love to see protected and just cared for.
So no, those are very good comments. And I have to say the quality of Winding Trails Lake or Dunning Lake is it's the heart of our existence. And we care so much about that lake that multiple times during the year we take water quality sampling. That started many, many years ago, and we can follow trends of water quality. So if there's any change in a pattern, we can see it immediately. And we're very serious about that. And so any spillage is an important item. I have a pretty good amount of background with major construction projects and managing them. In this case, our project will follow Connecticut DOT standard specifications. As a part of that general requirement, they're very specific about what things are required and what has to be done. And we will make sure that, yeah, as you say, if there are any spills, that we can address them immediately. Because yeah, that would be a disaster to think should something happen.
Accidents happen.
It has happened.
Things like that. And
yes, it
you're going to
has.
have equipment there for months at a time,
Yeah.
doing work off and on and around
Well,
your schedule. Fuel
We
tanks can
do
leak.
have the right, we do have so if you look at the operation, they're going to do a lot of rough grading, pavement removal, processing the pavement and compaction. When that's done, a lot of that equipment will no longer be needed.
Sure.
And any paving equipment for the spring will show up in the spring. And that's something we could keep an eye on is we don't want equipment stored here. The other thing, we have a lot of children here. We don't want them to be attracted to equipment. Touch a truck day is okay to do that. But we don't, and also the opportunity for vandalism. So that's a good point that we will definitely be aware of.
That's the only questions I had, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dave?
Hey, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
I had a little question. You have here addition of 33 parking spaces. You mentioned 8.
Yeah, so that becomes subjective. Sharon and I have talked quite a bit about it. Sharon did a great job of writing up the
Shannon.
existing condition. Shannon did a great job of writing up the conditions and the project understanding. That computation is based on the existing parking lot, which if you go space for space, the new one has 8 more spaces because it's a little more efficient in the center row. The other part is some what we call unofficial spaces. They're unmarked. They're just areas along the side of the road that people park. So it's a little hard to quantify them other than to take the length and divide it by a dimension, probably 10 feet, and come up with a number. So looking at where people mostly park, that's how we got the plus 33 spaces. But it gets subjective if you start adding in all the other spaces that people can and will park if it gets busy enough between the trees. So officially, let's assume it's a gain of 33 spaces. And most of that comes from not the existing parking, not the new parking lot over the existing, but from the area of where the roadway is realigned and there's parking all along it.
And overall, are you increasing the impervious coverage, or is it kind of, after you make the changes, kind of a wash?
It's close to a wash. Shannon, do you remember if in my presentation there was a comparison of pavement area? I don't know that we measured. Okay, there we are.
600
So that
square yards.
now,
It's going up.
just a footnote to that. That was based on a preliminary plan. The plans you're looking at now are final design plans, which the alignment has changed slightly, the layout has changed slightly. So those were approximate numbers, but a simple answer to your question, yes, there is a gain in pavement area. And that's showing 13%.
All right, no other questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Lisa, questions?
I can't think of any questions at this time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now it's my turn. Thanks again for the great presentation. I like the direction. A couple times I've been up there, it has been a little crazy with all the people parking between the trees, and that's always interesting.
Yeah.
One question, and it was kind of hinted at or brought up during construction, you're going to follow all the proper erosion control protocols in terms of things, both silk fences and the straw and wattle, and
Yes.
especially on the inclines or the
Right.
should say the-
Shannon, could you please scroll down to the plans a little bit? If we get to the general notes, okay, see the general notes on the left, there's a substantial amount of verbiage that is geared towards exactly what you're saying.
Wonderful. Okay. Yep.
So,
Just double checking.
yeah, absolutely. You know, we're self-governing here. We would do that even if we didn't have to. That's just, we're protecting, we're the caretakers, and we have a lot invested in this, and we are going to protect it, everything we could do.
Okay, and just the one other question, the water retention or depression areas. I see one that's by the front edge of the new, or the upper lot, I guess.
Oh, okay, so the
Yeah,
south
that-
and then what? Yes.
I'm not sure of my orientation. Okay, so
Yep.
that's south facing. Okay. And is that going to be the main one or are you going to do some others also?
Well, that one picks up
Seems
about
like a
half the
lot.
parking lot, a big part of the parking lot, yes. So
Okay,
that is the largest. That will be the main one.
okay.
Um,
Well, that's great. I'm glad to see that sort of water quality features. It's great to have that, especially if we're getting a little bit more impervious coverage. So, okay, thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. All right. And again, I want to thank Shannon for all her hard work, guiding us through this process and making sure we're doing what we're supposed to. So thank you, Shannon.
Now, because this is concurrently going through the inland wetlands process, we will not be able to vote upon it tonight. So will, if everything goes according to plan, we will be voting on this on July, what's the date, 13th?
13.
Yes. So your process, you will proceed through the inland wetlands. They get to vote first, and then it comes to us, and then we can give a final decision upon that process. But we wanted to give you a chance to get a chance to speak, and we get a chance to ask questions. So,
we'll
so
need a-
do I need to officially?
Yes, please, a motion and a second to
Okay.
continue to the next meeting, please.
Okay, so I need a motion
Can I-
in a second to, oh, if you have another question?
Yeah, I just thought of something. We might as well ask while they're here.
Right.
Since there's so much like changing, have you checked the turning radiuses to make sure that the buses are gonna be okay to make that corner, and especially fire trucks also?
Yes, in fact, if you look at the drawing that's up on now, on the left side, there's a radius improvement there. That was probably one of the most critical. Our most common vehicle will be school buses that are used to transport campers. We do occasionally have a delivery. Fire trucks, it's important for them to have access. So yes, we are doing our best to accommodate them. We're trying to work a balance between being functional and practical, and yet limit impact. One of the things we're trying to do is minimize impact to the environment. So try to accomplish what we want to and need to, and yet also try to leave what trees we can wherever possible. So I feel comfortable that we'll accommodate, we'll definitely accommodate school buses, even in a bi-directional flow when they're passing each other, although that's not the pattern they follow today. So it's a much safer alignment. But yes, we're definitely accommodate a design vehicle.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, great, thanks. So I need a motion and a second to, how shall I put this?
Just
Just
for now, continue it to July
Continue.
13th. If there's
Okay.
an issue, then we'll postpone it at the next meeting to the 27th if you need to.
Okay,
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this application for site plan approval to repave 4 parking lots, reline roadway around the camp, add additional parking and improve traffic flow and safety made by Winding Trails Incorporated at 50 Winding Trails Drive in R40 and EE zone.
and a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great, thanks. We'll hopefully address things on the 13th.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very welcome. Okay, our next item up for business is the Next Chapters LLC. Please come on up and state your name and address and
I'm Paul Stepka, and this is Lena Van Valkenburg. The address is 218 River Road. We plan to open a used bookstore and cafe. I think we're mainly here to discuss parking. But any questions you have? The plan's pretty straightforward. Oh yeah, it's up there.
It's on both screens.
Basically, basically taking the existing building and we're building out a bookstore. It happens to be on the second floor because that's what was available essentially. the parking situation is essentially the same or better than it has been in the past, past approvals. We're actually down to, I believe, 5 shared spaces or 4 shared spaces.
I calculated 4 shared spaces.
So 4 shared spaces, which in the past 8 shared spaces were approved. So we're actually 4 less than what was approved in the past. I don't have a whole lot else to say, but happy to answer questions. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Commissioners, we can start with our questions. Bob?
Okay, thank you. A couple of quick questions. So this is going to be a cafe and bookstore,
Used bookstore and cafe, yes.
right? Is there going to be any cooking on site?
No cooking on site,
No cooking.
just
on
heating up pastries and stuff like that.
site. Okay,
no.
what about the coffee and all that good stuff?
We're using,
Coffees, teas, refreshments?
we're making those on site, yes.
Okay. Has that gone through the health department?
Yes. That's the health department signed off on our plan.
Okay. All right. And the hours of operation are here. I'm good. Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, great. Phil?
So I had trouble understanding what the request was from all the paperwork. So what is it that
We're here we're told we need site plan approval, and it was generally for parking. To show that it's change of use from office space and what was antiques to cafe and bookstore with some office space.
So is the thought that the space the space in the building already had 8 shared space allocated to it, now it only needs 4?
Correct.
So that should still be outside the building and that hasn't changed?
It's
Right.
all there.
Thank you.
Okay. Josh?
Thanks, Liz. If I can ask Shannon a quick question. So Shannon, what are the requirements? A site plan approval, special permit, both, neither?
So site plan, the existing property is there, the buildings are there, and there are existing approvals, and I had shared the record approvals. There's 1995, 2005, 2006 approvals that had been a retail antique store, and then there was office space moved in at varying times. It appears that it has a shared parking agreement with the mini golf that is on the premise as well. And the cafe or restaurant use is a new use.
Got it.
So as a cafe, it's a new use for the commission to review. It doesn't really seem to be intense enough to warrant a special permit and public hearing, but certainly that's at the commission's discretion. But at a minimum, with a new use, it requires the review of the commission, as well as the parking really ends up being the driving force on this. Does it make sense for the shared parking, which is permitted in the regulation, which I believe I noted in the agenda review?
So in this zone, thank you, Shannon. So in this zone, what is it?
C1 and FP zones.
Okay. And so a cafe or a restaurant is requires special permit.
It would technically be, so if this was a brand new site and had never been used before, then yes. The Article 4, Section 12, when there are new uses coming and going at a property, it's at the commission's discretion as to whether or not now the use is so much more intense that a new special permit and public hearing are warranted.
Yeah.
Can I address that out just quickly?
Sure.
The owner of the property is also the owner of the mini golf. He owns all of it. The mini golf has ice cream, snacks, drinks already, so it's kind of,
okay,
to me,
similar
same
to what
use.
you're doing. Yep. And does that have a special permit? I'm assuming from what you're saying, no, for that use.
No, I don't. That was in
Don't know.
I don't know if it was in
That's fine.
95 or I don't know which one So it came through. It has either in 95, 05, or 06. And whether or not a public hearing was held, I'd have to go back.
Okay.
I can't remember offhand specifically.
That's okay. I just wanted to understand the regulation. I don't have an issue. I don't think it needs a special use permit. Fine with it proceeding as is. I did just, can you clarify, it was tough to read the plan, just the size, like I was trying to put this in perspective, like how big are can you like read this square footage on the plans? I couldn't read some of the handwriting, so it was tough for me to tell like what I was looking at, and like what, like is everything that's highlighted part of your space, or is some like office not your space?
What you're seeing on
That's
that
why I was
screen,
a little
what you're
lost
seeing
on
on that screen right there, the green part is the bookstore.
Okay.
It's all one.
You are this whole space. This
It's all
isn't
one
the
unit.
shared space.
What you're seeing
Okay.
on that screen is all of us.
Okay, gotcha.
Um,
So office is like your office or
Yes.
space,
Yeah, no
not for
customers will be
rental
using
or
it.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
so that's 160 square feet of office space. The cafe is the two orange parts, which is 620 square feet. And the bookstore is 611 square feet. So grand total, it's about 1,300 square feet.
Okay, so you have cafe on both sides of the books in the middle. That's,
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure it out, but all right, that makes sense. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Dave?
I don't know if this doesn't really apply to us, but are the restrooms in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. You can see it on the plan, just like if you drink a bar coffee
Right.
in your restroom.
There's a river, right?
That's-
Oh,
That's not-
we're also in charge of aquifer protection.
Right, exactly. Water quality.
No, so we're just changing, so nothing in space is changing. It's just use of the parking space.
Yep.
And you're adding the cafe on. You've not been open yet, is that right?
No,
No,
we're
not
still
yet.
working towards the final approvals on the building permit.
All right, and you do understand West Hartford has a next chapter bookstore?
It's different,
Without the
but
S.
yes.
It is
No-
different.
No, S.
Yes.
I work for the schools.
Yeah,
there,
that's
so-
like a text, they have like textbooks and isn't it?
No, it's used books.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
all
used books.
Yeah,
I've looked in the windows.
all right, very good. Just making sure you know.
Yes.
All right. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave. And Lisa?
I just had a question out of curiosity. It's nice to see you guys.
Yeah.
There's two cafe sections, or is it just that the
It's-
book area is?
There's like a main, the bigger one is like the main cafe, and then, but we do have some seating in the other area that's, would be considered cafe area.
Right, and it actually started as just the small room as a cafe, and then the people in the back moved out.
Oh, okay.
So we gained more space, which made more sense to have the cafe with windows overlooking.
I see. And where the books are, is that all seating also, or no?
No.
Okay,
It's mostly
browsing.
bookshelves.
Bookshelves, yeah.
Okay, okay. I was just curious.
Yeah. You'll love it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. My question is, who are your neighbors in this building currently? I'm curious.
There's mostly therapists,
Okay.
family therapists.
Okay.
There's going to be a photographer, which is also an office use. There's another office downstairs.
Okay. Okay, so nothing, I don't see a lot of people flooding in
No.
and cars and
It'll be like
It's not a-
meditation.
right, it's not classes at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
no,
afternoon.
it's all like individual therapists with their own
And so-
offices.
1 or 2 cars.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, I think that was it. You just understand you'll have to come for sign, you'll have to talk to staff about signage and
Mhm.
things like that. So, okay. I think that's it. Any other questions?
Just
Yeah.
For clarification, because I'm noticing on this, that pink section off to the left, is that you guys also right there behind?
No,
you?
that's a whole different, that's across the hall. That's a whole different business.
Okay, okay, that's all I needed. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get that more too. So what kind of traffic are you anticipating in this in terms of people coming through? Because I know you only want, like, you're thinking 3 or 4 spaces. Or...
We're thinking it's gonna be people that go to the mini golf, mothers or fathers that drop their kids off at a therapy session. We're not the daily grind coffee shop. We're not actually considering ourselves a coffee shop. We're using the daily grinds coffee beans.
But we're opening later, so we figure we're not gonna get that like morning coffee rush. They'll go to the
Right.
coffee shops,
We're-
really.
we're the experience, not so much the coffee shop. We need to make money, so we need to sell pastries and stuff, and hopefully a lot of books.
Hopefully a lot of books.
But yeah, we're not expecting a huge amount of traffic all at once. It's slow browsing in and out.
And you have use of the parking lot, I guess, like when the season's over for mini golf?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
in
we'll have a
the
lot more
in the
spaces then.
October to April, where there's way more parking than we'll ever need.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Anyone? All our questions have been answered?
I think it's gonna be very popular. You're gonna see how it fills
I
out.
hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you for your presentation. We need a motion and a second for this issue.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for site plan for Next Chapters LLC for a cafe bookstore use on the second floor and review of shared parking for development at 218 River Road in a C1 and FP zone.
And the second?
A second.
Okay, great. Okay, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we need to accept an application from Metro Construction Corp.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the application made by the Metro Construction Corporation for special permit and site plan modification for intensive construction activity for crushing of concrete foundation, sidewalks, and retaining walls, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. for a period of 8 weeks at 20 Scott Swamp Road in the SSROZ zone, and schedule public hearing with that recommended hearing date being July 27th, 2026.
And the second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Now we are going to move on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. And we will be hearing Jason Levesque's application. And just remember, we're all members of the community. We're all everyone gets a chance to speak. Just remember, if the applicant's going to present, then we'll ask questions, then there'll be time for public comment. And we'll see if there's any correspondence, that's what I'm looking for. And just keep your comments to about 5 minutes, and then we can all be very successful. So,
Madam Chair, I'm going to interrupt. May we please get a motion second and continuance for the first application, please?
thank you. I forgot about that one. Okay, so I need a motion and a second to continue the public hearing for GG Mart.
87 Farmington Avenue.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we continue the application or the hearing for the application for special permit site plan approval for a grocery store beer permit for gas station located at 1387 Farmington Avenue in a B1 zone. And we're going to postpone that until Monday, September 14th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Okay, motion carries. We will hear that in September.
Thank you.
Now, thanks for the reminder. Okay. Mr. Levesque, come on up.
Shannon Lance, members of the board. Jason Levesque, 52 Climax Road, Simsbury, Connecticut. We are here to propose a new construction home above the R20 zone of 2,400 square feet, including a pool house, which amounts to 780 square feet. 80 square feet above the accessory building limit. Excuse me. Very nice family saw this property and fell in love with it. They would like, or they're proposing their dream home somewhere they're gonna you know, memories with kids, hence the pool house, trying to keep their kids there. I myself actually want my kids out of the house once they turn 18, but they want them returning, which is great, kind of speaks volumes to who they are. The size of the home was designed with the fact that you know, aging parents will probably move in with them. We also looked around at a lot of the adjacent properties, not far different from the one we're proposing right now, and on smaller properties. So this amounts to about 5.5 acres. A lot of those properties are under 3 or even 2. So a lot of the properties on the, and forgive me, I'm forgetting the names of the roads. I think this Hatters Lane, I believe.
Hatters and
Yeah.
Dorset.
Yeah. So, about equivalent size homes, but on smaller parcels. So, you know, having fallen in love with the property, the owners, we thought that the size of the building, the accessory structure fit the property. You know, we're not trying to cram a you know, 3,000 square foot home into a 1 acre lot. You know, dealing with 5.5 acres, we felt that it fit the property appropriately in the area. We have been accepted, or plans were approved by wetlands last week. We have some items that I've worked with Bruce and now Shannon that we're going to take care of. They were contingent of approval. We've taken necessary steps to handle any sort of erosion or in sediment control. So we've added, you know, straw wattle around the silt fence. There's a little bit of a slope on the back end with that conservation on the plan. You can see that there. So we've taken necessary steps to limit any damage to wetlands, conservation area. I don't know if any of you recall, originally I had put through and approved a 4-house subdivision there. During that, we implemented conservation area. That's that kind of like gray shaded area right there. And then north, Shannon, if you don't mind going, yep, conservation area as well up there. All those areas are in place and staying in place for this approval or this plan. We will be putting signage up as the construction moves forward. So again, that's staying in place. That's not removed because we've changed the use of the not use of the property, but the project. That's it in a nutshell. That's what I have for you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, Bob, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. It is a good sized project. Did you do test pits? Are there going to be any blasting or any type of, what's the excavation expected to be in?
So it's yeah, test pits were done. We are doing septic there. So we did across the whole property in that prior approval for the houses. It's all very similar in all the test pits. So like sandy gravel, pretty phenomenal stuff. So very similar to winding trail, winding trails.
Okay, so no blasting is going to be.
No blasting. No.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
And do you have a clear, or I'm assuming you've already talked to the town and gotten a clear depiction of trying to save some of the trees and where you're going to be?
Yeah, we're doing
clearing.
substantial less clearing there than that original approval. We do have a clearing limits on, this is not the updated plan. Actually, do we
It's
have
a
that?
plan that came in with the TPZ application.
Oh, that's true. And we didn't get, so we do have a clearing limits currently on the updated plan that I had with wetlands. So if you
So it's gonna be right with, I'm assuming right here with the septic system. and
Yeah,
around.
it's pretty darn close. So if you see where the mouse is right now, so if you're gonna go like, go to the 203.
Yep.
You can kind of work your way back down.
Back
So it's
around.
almost following that, that topo, the 204, and then swooping back around, following the sill fence there. Overall, I couldn't tell you the exact square feet or acreage, maybe the difference between the two approvals, but it is substantially less.
And then just, so the pool house, you're doing 780 square feet?
Correct. Yeah.
Why is it, like, just for curiosity, why isn't it under the 700? Why is it 780?
We were trying to fit their wants and needs, right? So we wanted to make it, they want to put a pool table in there for their kids, more for like family entertainment for them, options for just storage as well. So, pool equipment, all that stuff. It's not going to have a full foundation, so it'll be a slab on grade. For storage, they needed the extra room. And then there's actually, I talked to Shannon about it, there's almost like a loft per se area up top. So that way they can put stuff up there as well. So really it was an arbitrary number. Just kind of works with the layout they were looking for.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Is there a bathroom or a kitchen or anything in that pool house? Is that?
So yeah, there's a bathroom in there, like a changing room, bathroom, a great room, and then kind of like they're not bedrooms, they're kind of like game rooms they're going to be using it for. The kitchen's not necessarily, it's more of a kitchenette, so they're going to put like a microwave in there, and it's a sink as well.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Is that being tied into the same septic system, or are you offset?
Correct. Same septic system. Yep. Farmington Valley, I've talked to them about that. They're good with everything. I just haven't gone through the approval with them just yet.
Okay. All right, I'm good for now. I agree. I think it's a big project, but it's not shoehorning a big house into a small lot. So
yeah,
I think it might fit well. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Phil?
I only have a couple of questions that I'm not even sure apply to your project, but there's kind of an abandoned foundation at the beginning of that road down Main Gate. Is
Doing
that
it at the same
anything
time.
to do with this?
Doing it at the same time. So not anything to do with it, but I happen to be building at the same time.
So will something be going in there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I noticed it was cleared recently. I was wondering if there was some movement.
Yeah,
on
I'm
that.
starting to get
That's
ready
been
to
an
get
eyesore
going
for a
on
while.
that. I kind of put that, I know not related to this, but I put that on the back burner as well.
Okay.
So,
So thank you for that.
Yep.
So the subdivision that was approved here, is that just now off the table and gone, and this takes up that whole space?
correct. Yeah. So that's gone. That would have to be reapproved, right? So it would have to go through everything again. I can't do it. That I don't own the property anymore. So yeah, this would be replacing all that.
Okay.
Yep.
So in the future, would there be room to build more structures on this lot?
Honestly, you could say yes, but they would have to go through the process. They bought this property to like their family compound, right? So they I don't want to say compound because that insinuates another building, but they built that. They want this to kind of go through their kids, so I highly doubt that in 20 years or 30 or 40 years you're going to see an application for another house. It might be difficult to do that just with this layout and the reserve area for the septic and everything. So to be honest, it'd be very difficult to do.
And my last question, also slightly off topic, but why go a septic if you've got sanitary sewer in the street?
The cost.
Okay.
So it's if maybe if you're familiar from the original approval, bringing septic up there required a whole new almost like a bridge So a whole new culvert on the property that you, next to the property that you were referring to
Mhm.
there. So we'd have to build up just to have gravity. I think it was, I think it was like 8 feet, maybe 10 feet or something. So quite the substantial retaining wall. So having talked to Bruce, you know, we thought it wasn't necessary to bring a sewer in.
Thank you.
Okay, Josh.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. The so-called pool house. So the pool house has full bathroom, shower, 2 enclosed rooms with doors, a great room, a kitchen with an island, with a sink, a range, a microwave, and a dishwasher. It looks a whole lot to me like a dwelling. And so I guess I would, I don't know what, I'm not sure if I have a question for you or for Shannon or what, but I guess for Shannon maybe. So if this were an accessory dwelling unit, would it not need something further? Or maybe just need to be declared as a dwelling unit and get that approval then?
So if
I'm just
they
trying to,
choose to use it, isn't it? So if they choose to use it as an accessory dwelling unit, as a formalized, a separate accessory dwelling unit, then yes, there's a special permit. So rather than the accessory structure over the 700 square feet, then there's the detached accessory dwelling unit
just different
permit, which is a
regulations.
separate, which is a different permit. It still
Yeah.
falls under a special permit, but it is a different bucket. I have been told repeatedly that it is not being used as an accessory dwelling unit. All
Yeah.
I can do is ask the question and get the answer.
Okay.
We can, and we have before requested at the time of building permit that the owners sign off on a document indicating that it won't, at a minimum, that it won't be rented out as an accessory dwelling unit. At the end of the day, if family's coming and there's grandkids and grandkids stay there at Christmas time or whatever for a holiday gathering, I'm hard pressed to be able to police that as the end of the day. I've asked the question, I got the answer. I can't do much more than that.
Thank you.
Could I add slightly to that?
Sure.
To be honest, the kids might, you know, sleep in there, right? You know, hey, they have a sleepover or whatever, and they, you know, I know like mine, you know, they like sleeping in the tree fort, you know, sometimes when they have friends over.
Yeah.
So it's the same respect. They have no interest, right? And you can take it from my word if you would like, but they have no interest in renting something out or creating another structure to be called a house there, right? You know, that's not their intent. Again, they're trying to create a place that you know, they can entertain their family. You know, go swimming.
It looks
right?
fabulous. I get it.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah.
I guess so my understanding of accessory dwellings, definition of accessory dwelling, is that it has nothing to do with whether it's rented or not rented.
Yeah.
If it's a dwelling, it's a dwelling, whether it's rented or not.
Sure.
It still counts as a dwelling. I guess, Shannon, I thought that in the past we've had restrictions on people building kitchens for this exactly that such reasons, like that you can't have a second kitchen in your house. I've been told by people that they weren't allowed to put a second kitchen even in their own house because it was considered a dwelling. I think that was before ADU rules, maybe, so outdated information maybe, but is that what I'm thinking, that's why that was with
Perhaps, yeah,
hypothetical,
yes.
yeah,
And
yes.
so, like I said, we've had these situations come up. The best I can do is suggest that at the time of building permit, the owners sign a declaration that the space will not be used as an accessory dwelling unit, and then we can record that on the land records.
Okay.
And for us, it's not so much these owners,
Right, it's future.
right? It's the future owners that it looks and gets marketed as an accessory dwelling
Yeah.
unit that has not been permitted as such. So,
And a very sizable one, right? I mean, like this is a separate standing house, you know, it could be used in such a way, right?
could be. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily lined out that, I mean,
I'm not,
from an
I'm not- yeah.
entryway, right, from an access standpoint, and it's literally right in their, like literally in their backyard, right up
Yeah.
against the pool.
Yeah.
I'm
Sure.
assuming they're not gonna anyone in the future would necessarily just rent it to some John Smith, unknown, but,
Okay.
I understand where you're coming from. All I can tell you is I asked the
Understood.
same question and got the same answer, and
Okay, thank you.
here we are.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yep.
I guess, so is there a house currently on this lot or a structure currently on this lot?
There isn't.
There's not. What, was there previously something?
No.
So I thought I was looking at aerial pictures, so maybe I'm looking at a neighboring property that looked like, is there a house? I'm trying to understand.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Let me come in.
yeah, thank you.
You bet. Here we go. So what you're seeing on our GIS, we've got, so this is the vacant foundation. Let me,
That's the one that like burned
so
down.
that's a vacant
Correct,
foundation
yeah,
that
that house
fronts
was
right
down.
on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right on Main Street. And then
Right.
there's an access, it's a private drive up. There's a house, there's 5 main gate that is back, and then there is
That,
6
oh, that's a
main
different
gate
parcel.
here.
Okay. So this goes further back.
So this goes back
okay.
and it actually, because our GIS is lagging, it shows the old, so the property is the entirety of the rest of Main Gate Drive, the cul-de-sac. And these are the remnant 4 parcels. The
Got it.
subdivision
Okay.
expired. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is no longer in effect.
Parcels. Yeah.
So it expired and this is now all back to one lot.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And then the conservation easement, I just forget the mechanics of that. So if it's an easement, it's just in conservation, but it's still owned by the owner of the property, right?
Correct.
It's not open space or it's not publicly accessible.
Correct.
Yeah.
There is an encumbrance and it's already been filed on the land records.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
reported as part of the development and building permit and CO process. The medallions will all go in, but the legal instrument has all been recorded on the land records.
Thank you again, Jen. Appreciate it. I don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Josh. There you go.
Thanks. Question for you. Where's the driveway going and coming off of?
It's it's right here. It's just opposite Tungus Street. So the driveway is an existing driveway, about 50 feet north of Tungus Street on the opposite side of the road, and comes up and provides access to the 2 existing homes, and then we'll provide access to this 3rd home.
So is it's shared for a portion?
Yeah, it's a shared private driveway. There's a number of them in town.
If you've driven by and possibly pulled in there, you can see the 5 main gate has a shed kind of closer to the end or the beginning of their driveway portion. The proposed driveway will go just to the right of that shed. That gives you kind of like a frame of where it will, the driveway going up to this parcel will be right there. If you're looking at the property on the right side of that shed.
I've got no other questions right now.
Okay, I'll swing back. Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, I just have a question about, again, sort of as Josh had stated, it's a pool house, but you're exceeding the capacity because you want to put in game rooms or rooms that would be used for living as opposed to storing pool equipment or using it for the pool house and recreation for that. Is that correct?
And so again, we came up with that design, right? That and honestly, it was an arbitrary number, just based on what they want. Getting that locker room in there, or not locker room, but changing room,
Right.
bathroom, and a nice we call it a great room, for eating lunch or during the during the summer. Not necessarily never put the thought process for sleeping quarters to be honest with you. It was just that number that we came up with.
But you could probably back out the extra square footage and build that into the spec home?
Yeah, and honestly, we wouldn't have to put it into the spec home. So, really.
So it's optional. You don't really need the extra space for
Yeah,
the pool house?
So, yes, we would like it, right? In all sincerity, if you were to say, hey, this would be a contingency that we could approve this, happily drop it down to 700. Yeah.
Because there wouldn't be really any control over, I'm not sure if it's just the health department or if it matters, if it's the current owners, but if they are staying in the house and raising their family there, there's no way to kind of keep the occupancy to what the septic limitations are, like if they exceed the family size or get married or have a child or bring in friends, there's no way to really know how many people are utilizing it, because usually a pool house wouldn't have the bathroom, kitchen, and
We
the
did,
ability to house people.
when designing, we did consider it, a one bedroom unit, right? So that was figured into the septic system design. Currently, it's the system is made for six bedrooms. So that, that's
Is it over 1,500? What is the size?
the tank itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have 1,500. The tank itself. Excuse me. The galleys, again, the galley is designed. That's what's more important, for percolation. Obviously if the gray water. So that was designed for. Yeah, again, we're four bedrooms there, so 5. It's one more than obviously the amount of bedrooms you have, and then plus the pool house. So far exceeding what they're going to have there now, and then definitely meeting any needs for future purposes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Okay, I have a couple of questions. While we're on the pool house issue or question, heat insulation, I'm sure that it's insulated because it's got plumbing in it, but excuse me.
I'm having the same, like,
Wow, that kind of caught me off guard. So it will be heated and insulated to maintain the plumbing, but
So honestly, we might just do AC in there, so a handler for the summer months.
okay.
Right now, we haven't made too much of a design as far as climate control or even interior fittings.
Okay.
So like wall, what's going on the wall. But the primary focus was more those summer months, right? Not getting 120 degrees in there.
Okay.
So cooling it off. Yeah. We were planning on retrofitting the whole thing for shutoffs for the winter.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So it could shut it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And another question, the former, the swampy area that used to be a pond on Dorset Lane, once the dam broke, did that cause any problems on your?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Okay.
But that was, yeah, it's, God, I haven't looked down there in probably probably five years now or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just it didn't cause any problems or anything.
No, it's so the elevation from where we're working to where that, where the brook or, where the stream is,
Mhm.
you can't even see it unless you're on top of the mill, like on the, right there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's probably a good 20 to 30 feet
Yeah.
down from where even the septic system is down to where that brook is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question though. I would love to take a look at it.
Well,
I should probably look at it. Just
I live in the area. I walk there a lot.
okay.
And
Yeah.
the old one day there was a pond and the next day.
I know,
there
which is a
wasn't.
shame because it was a real nice pond actually.
Yeah, it was. It was a nice little feature. but
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
shows in Google
Old
Maps.
dams.
Yeah.
Old dams go away.
Yeah.
Of their own volition.
Yeah.
So,
And costly to rebuild. Yes.
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 Definitely. So, Okay, I think that answers my questions. So now it is time to hear from people in the room and for time for some public comment. So if you'd like to make a public comment, please come up, introduce yourself and give your address, and
Thank you.
you can have a seat.
Hi, my name is Tom Cervolo. I live at 6 Main Gate or 171 Main Street. So I'm not very good at reading maps. I believe my house is this portion. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Can you just speak back into?
Yeah, we just want to make sure we get to hear. from
Sorry
you.
about that.
That's okay.
I've been talking with Jason on this for several years. When the first subdivision of 4 houses was built, they were going to bring in sewers, they were going to bring in underground lines and stuff like that. And as you know, the front house was part of that, and it's been dormant for 5 or 6 years. What I really object to on this property is the pool house. It's a house. It's got a kitchen, it's got bathrooms, and that's very, from what I can see, it's pretty close to my property as well. And it's to me, it's a house. So I don't object to I got to be honest. If somebody said to me, there's bears that live there, would I leave the land just the way it is? I would. But I also recognize people have a right to make money. The pool house is just too big. I don't think, to me, it's a house. If you want to put a pool table in, I mean, this house is this is a giant house. I think you can fit a pool table in the main house. But I really object to the size of the pool house, and it's very sophisticated for a pool house. So I can make the argument it's more like a house, and it's very close to my house as well. So as far as Jason, he's a very nice guy, nothing personal. The house, and I don't disagree that the people are going to be nice that move in here, but the pool house just seems to be so much bigger than is necessary, and it seems to have a lot of functionality that is better than my house. So that would be my objection to it, and I just would like to also understand how the road would come in and things like that. Because if we're developing the house in front, is that going to be a septic system? I know that originally for the 4 properties that were there, it was going to be a sewer line, and I just want to make sure that the septic systems are supported by the ground. So I have 2 objections. One is the size and the scope of the pool house, and just the understanding how the road is. Okay. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Frank Giarratana. I live at 11 Dorset Lane, adjacent to the look at the exact address, the 10 Man Gate property. In fact, we share a significant length of property line in common, about 900 square feet. Actually, I thank the Commission for sending up certified notifications of this meeting tonight and posting on your website the detailed plans that we just saw that gave us an opportunity to see in advance the changes. And I know the Commission wouldn't have sent the letters and posted things if you didn't expect neighbors and nearby people to come and comment. So I'm just going to make a few brief comments, and especially because I was part of a neighborhood group that appeared before this Commission a number of years ago when we were evaluating the other development plans that would squeeze, 4 single-family homes and a road into this area. What you see now, I think, is the best proper use of that land to make it a single family home. The plans do include two conservation areas. And my real reason for being here today is to clarify what a conservation area really is. Does it, commonly you would think it's an area that has to be maintained in a natural kind of way without any modifications or changes. Could you sort of clarify that, or are some changes allowed by the homeowner to that conservation area with regards to cutting and clearing and cleaning? So that's my first of two questions.
First question. Mhm.
Okay, just so we can have it on the
You
record.
ask every-
Yeah.
and we'll answer
Sure,
everything.
you're sure. And then secondly, on the plan, closest to our property are some rectangular designations that are identified as 100% reserve system. There are three rectangles that have some designations D and B. Can you clarify what that represents? And lastly, I wasn't going to comment, but before moving to Farmington, I had a home with a pool house. And a pool house sounds dramatic. And in fact, our pool house was twice the size of the one being considered tonight. And I wasn't going to make a comment, but it's really for 700 or 780 square feet. They're really changing rooms with a common room, and you might have a refrigerator and something along those lines, to make it more pleasant for the people using the pool. So personally, I don't think a pool accessory building of this nature is out of character, too large for the property. And I don't think it's going to be rented out as an Airbnb where other people come in. So as a neighbor to this property, I would not object to it. And I've reached out to the owners already, welcoming them to the neighborhood, assuming that you're going to approve things as presented. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. Should I have Mr. Levesque come up and clarify the questions about the plan?
Sure, you can, or you can, however you want to do it, Madam Chair.
If you would like to clarify those.
Jason Lebeck again. Figured to answer the septic system or the rectangles at the corner right there. So that because we already had percolation tests done for the development, we use the same areas. I'm happy to, we would actually never use that, to be honest with you. We used it because we had the test results there already. It wouldn't make sense to actually do a septic system over there. Let's say the existing system fails. When you're putting in for an approval of plans, you need to have a reserve area where you can put a new septic system. Right now, that's kind of like our placeholder. I'm happy to put a contingency in there. Yeah, so exactly. An area where it's actually closer to the house, not 250 feet away for a reserve area. So we just didn't have the perk tests, and I didn't want to trek through the woods, knocking trees down to do more perk tests, closer to the area of the house. That makes sense? Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I under-explained it or over-explained it. So that makes sense?
Thank you.
Yeah.
The conservation area.
Yep, that was going to be the. Mhm.
So, and I'll just, so
Thank you.
the conservation easement restrictions allow for passive recreation, and the only tree clearing and passive recreation is that you can walk through it, right? If a child is making a fort-ish in it, we tend not to get too bent out of shape. If it's a full-blown tree house, that's a whole other thing. Then that would not be permitted. Typically passive recreation is just hiking, walking, in utilizing, leaving it in its existing natural current state. The easement areas are far enough from the house. I don't believe there'd be a need to cut a tree there in order to protect the house, but on occasion, we will have trees that die out on the perimeter. They contact town staff. Town staff goes out and looks to verify the tree is in fact dead and can't be saved. And then that individual tree is allowed to be removed, but there is not general clearing and maintenance of the conservation areas. They are to be left in their natural state.
Okay. Any other public comment in the room? Okay. Anybody online, Shannon?
If anyone's called in to offer comment on the application for main gate for the single family home and accessory structure, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom and you will be acknowledged to address the commission. We do have one hand raised. Dan Sasan, if you will, you should be, yep.
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. My name is Dan Sasson. We're currently at 80 Betterson Park and in Farmington. And I just wanted to introduce myself. My wife and I are both on Zoom for the meeting. We are the current owners of the land who have asked Jason to do this project for us. And, you know, to make ourselves available to answer any questions. We have no problem signing something that says we're not going to rent out or otherwise use the pool house as a second dwelling, but just wanted to introduce myself and make myself available for any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, if anyone else is called in to offer comment regarding the application, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. Madam Chair, there's actually nobody else online, so just the Sassans and a colleague, so we're good to go.
Okay, and have we received any correspondence or anything about this?
There has been no written correspondence that we've received.
Okay, great. Now, commissioners, any questions have come up? Anything that you need to know an answer to? Anything else?
Yeah, I got a few.
Okay.
So when is the pool house right now? It's over 80 square feet over limit. Supposed to be 700 is the limit.
700.
Is that correct? And
Correct.
780 altogether. And does that include the loft area that's in
No.
the pool house?
Because there's no access shown to it on the plan. There's no stairs, there's no access shown to it. So they'd have to bring a ladder in to functionally use the loft area or something to use it as storage.
So if we were to say thought it was too big, a 700 square foot building could be put there still.
Correct. They could take 80 square feet off and then have all the same exact features. And then it's not under your purview, it's under mine. And the building permit comes in and I ask the same question. I get the same answer and I can ask them to put a restriction on, which I probably will. And but yeah, that's all that's going to change is 80 square feet.
Right. Okay. So the trees being cleared, did we really talk about what was being cleared there?
Sure. Well, the trees, right. So in order to get the driveway up, I know one of the residents asked about the driveway. I don't know if we've got a full plan with a full profile for the driveway. But you can see and it's tough with this one because there's so many different easements and shared access easements, but there's a dashed line that's coming through here. That's the edge of driveway. So that's the existing edge of driveway. So this is the existing edge of driveway up to 5. This is the little shed that Mr. Levesque made reference to. And then this is the driveway to 6. So their driveway is going to come in right basically through the center and continue up through. Mr. Levesque would have to answer whether or not there are any changes south of where their driveway connects. I don't believe there are, but Mr. Levesque would be able to answer that better than I can. So if you would like, you can come up.
Yes, please.
Question was whether there's changes further down towards Main Street.
Correct. How far down are the driveway grade changes taking?
So there's gonna, probably pretty much at the fork of the road there, right? We will be knocking down the grade a little bit, going up to the property. Not knocking down the adjacent property, driveways, but rather the grade in between. And not messing with, any of the grades into the existing driveways. There will be work, from Main Street to the properties here. We're bringing water and gas in. The water and gas is already stubbed in. I did that prior to Main Street being paved, geez,
Yeah.
2019?
A few years ago.
Yeah, so we
More than a
stubbed in
few.
water and gas prior to the paving. So that would be, work that being done at from the street up.
So the driveway then will be paved out to Main Street since
Co-
you're
correct.
gonna have to excavate to get the water and gas in. And by the time the construction trucks are back and forth, so you will pave down to Main Street,
Correct, yeah, paving will be all the way down.
all the way down to
Yep.
Main Street.
There is, yes. No, that's the drawing I was looking at, was like to show how close the driveway is to the neighbor, I believe, who's to the south. Is that who, I think who spoke, right? So it's about, I don't know, more than 15 feet, but maybe less than 20-ish.
Here's,
something like that.
so there's 15-foot yard setback.
Right. And then
Here.
that's the driveway, right? That.
And
we're
this is the
spotting.
driveway
Yeah.
hammerhead.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's probably roughly 20-ish feet,
Yeah.
somewhere, yeah, 15 to 20 feet.
Yeah.
This is 30 because this is a 40 scale drawing, so we gain distance really quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
it
1 to
says
20.
20 scale.
And is there, I'm sorry, Dave.
No, go ahead.
So is that currently brush, trees? Is there a fence planned? It's a large, I think that a number of people raise concerns about the size of the pool house, and, we could limit it to 700 square feet if we wanted to, or we could, come up with other ways to say, how do we mitigate impacts, right? Because you do 700 square feet, you can do whatever you want to some degree, but if you want 780, we maybe can ask you for a few things, like what kind of screening or fencing, is either planned or could be planned to mitigate. Sorry, I'm
sorry.
repeating myself. I'll stop talking.
No, you're good. Currently there is, along the whole row, with, oh my goodness, 6, right? 6 main gate.
6 main.
Yeah. Along that whole row, keep looking this way so I can talk into this. It's all large, mature pine trees. So really no coverage. The majority of the property is very small growth. So smaller trees. There's a handful that are like 20 inches or so, but relatively small. There's a lot of dead, brush in there. So we will be adding screening along there. I want to say arborvitae's, something that's green all year. But adding a row in there because the current owners do want privacy themselves.
Yeah, I would assume so.
So that was always a thought of just adding privacy there. The pool will require a fence around it. So that adds another portion of possibly privacy on that edge of the property.
Would you or I don't know, be amenable, and I guess if the owners are online and want to answer, to it as a condition of approval to add evergreen screening along that property line, and we can discuss how long along the property line or where it makes the most sense, but to just put that as a condition?
I think that is something that we could possibly discuss. I'd rather talk to them. And if that's a condition of approval, then that's something we can work with Shannon with and come up with that. Are you looking for like a linear footage or like?
Yeah, I want to be specific. So if the commission agrees that that's a condition we'd want to have, yeah, I think we want to be clear about where it is and maybe from, I don't know the property very well, so I'm making guesses here, but
Yeah, yeah.
somewhere sort of before the end of the driveway, like, so, alongside, maybe right around there, Shannon, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Down, I don't know how far past, I don't know, maybe down to that turning point at the,
So to give you kind
Sure,
of like a
something
so
like that
You
as
can
a
see
first
the, right, like the existing house is here on 6 Main Gate.
that's the
Right,
house.
That's very, that's pretty good size, pretty close there.
Okay.
About 20 feet behind, the half box right there, is all woods. And don't quote me when I say 20 feet, it could be, you can see,
So
it's pretty close, right? So there's, maybe 20, 30 feet. The property,
his property line, that's probably more than 20 feet, but
yeah. And then that turn that we were just talking about, is right there, right at that, at the.
So his property is very close to the line, unfortunately. I guess.
Correct.
Unfortunate in this case for this situation.
So I believe that's the garage, the one
That is the garage.
So you've got the property line. This is the portion of the house that shows on the survey, and that's the property corner that shows on the survey. So when we go back, so we've got the garage portion and the property corner. And we pop back over here. This is the same. This is the garage corner, and that's that same rear property corner, which is dying out. You can see this topography drops off. Jamet, you've got a 10-foot drop, and this is the Dorset Pond that's behind everybody, that was referenced earlier in the discussion. So I'm thinking somewhere in this vicinity. To and I can measure it on the aerial.
Madam Chair, if you're amenable, if the owner is still on, we could ask them if they want to comment. It's up to you, but
I think that would be appropriate. We are in discussion. Let's
So-
see what Shannon gets for.
And these trees are on 6 Main Gate, so those are already mature evergreens, but will come
what are they
come
probably
one down.
hollowed out on the bottom.
So
They tend to.
look, it's roughly 150-ish feet. Anywhere from 100 to 150 feet. At some point, you've got to take a look at this in the field and.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
But
We can leave some discretion, but just.
But that's roughly what you're looking at there. I think at that point, you start to tail off with the topography.
So let me make it very specific so that the homeowner can, or the property owner can make a comment specifically, is that we would put a condition of approval that there be evergreen, a full evergreen screen along that property edge that we're showing on the map and discussing here from, let's say, that extends roughly between 100 and 150 feet to be determined by staff from roughly, 20 or 30 feet before the end of the driveway to somewhere towards the back property line, for the purposes of providing screening to the neighboring property and for their own privacy as well. So that would be sort of my proposal, which we're not voting on. I'm just for discussion, but trying to work
No,
this out.
specifics. Are helpful here.
So,
Do you
Madam
wanna-
Chair, if you're agreeable, I'll ask Mr. Sasson should be able to.
Yes,
I can
please.
ask him to unmute his microphone again.
Hi.
There you go.
So I don't know enough about landscaping to know what sort of scope that project would be like, because there's a budget, and we want privacy. We're planning on doing whatever we needed to create privacy. I don't know specifically what it would mean to put a line of evergreens there as far as cost. So it's hard for me to commit to that. I mean, except to say that, yeah, my goal is to have privacy and the landscaping to support that. I don't know if anybody can answer that question. I mean, because if it was cost prohibitive, then we'd probably say, well, change the square footage to 700 if that ended up becoming the solution. you know, I guess we're on the same page with the goal. I just don't know how to comment on like, oh yeah, we can definitely do evergreens for that length, because I don't know what it costs to put in one evergreen, let alone that many. And also, I don't know, like, you know, how long they take to grow to get the privacy. So I guess I can say that, you know, I agree with the goal. It's hard for me to be more specific than that, unless someone can answer those questions here.
I mean, as a bulk, I appreciate your attention to detail, Mr. Sasson. I would say you could, and anybody else feel free to weigh in. I would say certainly for somewhere in the ballpark of $100 for say a 6-foot, 8-foot arborvitae, and if you got 100 feet, plant them every 3 feet. Say you got 30 to 40 arborvitaes, so $3,000 or $4,000, and maybe a little bit more than that for, you know, maybe you have to do some clearing, some rocks in the way. You know, I don't know. Ballpark.
Yeah.
Ballpark
Yeah. So,
numbers. I don't think this is, you know, $50,000 to plant some evergreens.
okay. Yeah. So, I mean,
that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I didn't even know what arborvitae was, because like I said, I'm not at all conversant with that field, but I thought that was their plan anyway. And yeah, that's certainly within the scope of the work I was imagining. So yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't object to like that being a condition, because that's probably something we would have wanted to do anyway.
Well, can we make the condition of approval conditioned on it being, if they build it at 780, then they have to do this, and if they decide to build it under 780, then they don't, or like, I don't know.
We'll work with it.
Okay.
So go ahead. If this gets approved at the 780, then that's the condition.
Okay.
Right. And then if they come back and it's something less, right, the actual building permit comes in and it's less, I will deal with it accordingly.
Okay. That sounds fair. That sounds
Again, I think there's an intent to get some screening there, so we'll work on something. Understood.
Yes, and Mr. Sasson, we learned arborvitaes are the tall, slender pine trees you see everywhere. Near lots of buildings, the back sides of buildings or between on property lines. You become very-
Yeah, I can admit now that I was just nodding knowingly whenever Jason brought it up. I have no idea. So.
And yes, Dave, you have one more question.
That's all right. No, that's
okay.
helpful. No, I was thinking about tree clearing and all, but also screening too. So, I guess my last one is the lot. It's no longer subdividable at this point. Is that correct?
So
if this goes through.
So today,
right,
not approved. Yes, somebody could come in. So the subdivision that Mr. Levesque got expired, gone. Somebody could come in and get a reapproval of that. The Sassans have asked to build this house. With this house as it is shown and presented, I would have to agree with Mr. Levesque's statement. It is probably, I'm going to say almost impossible to extend this driveway beyond and then get another legally conforming lot up here. Could some creative architect, engineer, surveyor come in and want to do that? Perhaps. I'd have to start to take a look at how many houses off, at what point does it become a rear lot? It's a private driveway, so there's a number of things that start to come into play for us from a zoning standpoint that I can't necessarily just fly off on a cuff here. It is probably very unlikely. I won't go so far as to saying impossible, because we've seen some pretty creative individuals come through.
Okay, that's helpful. I don't know. I'm just thinking that, there's having one house rather than four.
Correct. I think at the most you would get is one other lot back in this area. I don't think you would start to get more. And then again, you start to lose the privacy, lose all those other things. The conservation easements stay in. Those are already in, so those are already safeguarded, if you will, and no build areas.
All right. Thanks very much.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. So that answered all your questions. Anybody else have anything come up?
I would just make a comment to Dave's last point of like, if this house gets built, the odds that an owner of a house like this to subdivide it is probably fairly small as well. So I think it lends itself to, as someone else I think said, this is probably the best use kind of that maybe we could see of this property. So other than maybe a cemetery. Ha, ha, ha. Sorry. Just a joke. Just a joke. Yeah. So I don't think I have any other questions. I think the pool house is a little bit out of character and a little bit too large, but given the size of the property and the situation, and if with the condition, I'm amenable to approve it, the application with that condition. I'd also be open to like a 6-foot privacy fence if that would put that as an alternative in the conditions as well. That seems fine too.
That's probably helpful, honestly, so
That
that
would-
Okay.
staff has flexibility as we go through building.
That's
Right.
my opinion. So
That seem amenable.
Yeah,
Some sort of
I would prefer
screening
the
privacy.
arborvitae's over a fence, but
I would
But-
too, but I
yeah.
don't know. But
If
arborvitae's
she
take
needs
a
it,
while
then yeah,
to grow
exactly,
too, and
yeah.
Whatever you all are comfortable with. But if you're thinking that to offer the flexibility,
Yeah.
it's appreciated on our end as we're going
Yeah.
through on the
No,
building permit.
definitely.
Okay. It seems like we have concluded our questions. We're all set. So then it is time for us to close the public hearing, which means it is time for commissioners to talk, discuss, come to conclusions, and then vote. So everyone feels kind of comfortable with the idea that we add a condition of approval being a privacy fence or screening. I'm looking for head shaking.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I would almost go, because the house is so big, it actually falls outside. I would actually say we keep the screening in regardless of the size of the pool house.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
You know,
It's
like-
like-
like
Actually, I
Josh
agree
was
with- I
saying,
agree with
if
you,
he
actually.
drops it down to 700, we don't need it. I would say put it in anyway.
I agree.
Mhm.
Actually.
we can, at that point, then it is theirs to build as they see fit, if it's under 700.
Well,
Correct.
technically, there's a special permit for the house.
There's a special
Okay.
permit for the house.
Oh,
That's what I'm
that's true.
saying.
Right.
So we
So
could-
you
we
can
could
link
make
it.
that
Right.
Condition.
You can link it to both special
Okay.
permits
Right.
and not
Okay.
just the special permit for the accessory.
Okay,
Right, right,
that
right.
is correct.
And this way we
Thank you.
satisfy the privacy for both neighbors and everything, even if he goes under the 780.
I mean, it's
Okay.
it's a big pool. It's a huge patio.
Correct.
It's,
Mhm.
it's just a lot.
And they're gonna,
Potentially,
Right.
could be very quiet, but could also be lots
Right.
of parties. Who knows?
Right.
and I'm sure everyone
And I
on
think
both
that's what he
sides of the
was,
fence will
Yes.
appreciate.
Correct.
it.
Fences make good neighbors.
Right, on both
Sounds
sides of the fence.
But I would hate to see it being onerous on the,
Right,
to the
I
owner's
also-
point is, not knowing the prices, and I don't know, you have to know. I'm just, you
Well,
may have just
I mean,
guessed at those.
No, I think we're not talking
yeah.
50,000, we're talking $5,000-ish
$5,000,
thousand
$6,000.
dollars.
Okay.
As long
in the
as
whole
long as
scheme of
I know
things.
that, yeah, I don't want to put anyone under
And
undue
not that I
burden.
spend other people's money without regard, but I think in commensurate with the project and what
Mhm.
their request of you, a 3,000 to 5,000 square foot screening mechanism is probably not out of the question.
Just to clarify, $3,000 to $5,000 screening mechanism.
Yeah, did I say square foot?
Yes.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
So
I
I just,
did.
I just
Sorry.
didn't want for the
Thank you for
record, someone to get
No.
confused or the owners to get confused.
No,
Thank you for
sorry.
the clarification, because I thought
Dollar.
I heard that too, and
No.
it's- okay.
$3,000 to $5,000 in the whole scheme of what is being proposed. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
It's getting a little late.
Okay, so,
We never really talked about all the conditions.
Right.
considered, too.
Okay, I'm just looking quickly, okay.
Do you want to share them? Maybe just read it. Maybe it's helpful for all of us.
Okay, yes, some of the items that consider, zoning charts that, whoops, excuse me. Will change your, okay, that's all set. And clearly depict limits of tree clearing and grading, and that was on the updated plan
Yeah, we'll get that. So a lot of
Okay.
these are engineering
Mm, right.
related, so you can add
It's
these. So
driveway.
the applicant has seen these.
Okay,
So they're engineering related so that we have
We
them
can just-
captured for when the final plan comes in for building permit, should this be approved.
okay.
So you can add these
The-
all as condition. and
As
it should be fine.
conditions. Okay. So commission, do we understand, or do we feel we're ready? And do we understand what we are about to vote on? Okay. Are you ready to craft? I need a motion and a second.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the application, or I'm sorry, approve the application for special permit and site plan made by Jason Levesque for a new single-family home in excess of 2,400 square feet living area and 3,200 square feet total area, an accessory structure in excess of 700 square feet at lot 8446 Main Gate, also known as 10 Main Gate in an R20 zone, on the conditions that were discussed.
Is that good enough or do we need specifics?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Arborvitae, 100 to 150 feet from the hammerhead to the midway on the septic system
Mhm.
and or equivalent distance
Right.
of a
Privacy.
privacy fence.
Okay,
And all the engineering concerns.
The engineering
6 feet or
conditions
higher.
and the declaration that the pool house will not be used as an ADU.
okay.
Okay.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, let's vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, all opposed? And abstentions. The motion carries. Good luck, Mr. Levesque and Mr. Sasson, and welcome to the neighborhood.
Did not mean to
Excuse
do
me.
that.
Okay. Now, we're on to planners reports.
I've got a few things to run through for all of you.
Garrett's
Is there
here.
any objection to me? Garrett, I might take these out of order real quick.
That's
Any
fine.
objection to me hitting the high school first, item 4 first, and then coming back to
Sure.
zoning regulations?
Go for it.
Okay. So high school, 10 Monteith Drive. The athletic director has made a request to add a shed at the tennis courts up by us at Town Hall. The tennis courts are right up adjacent to the new Town Hall. The shed is shown here in purple there, and he's made a request to add bleacher pads to either end of the tennis court and a sample of the shed and a sample of the prefab bleachers. And then there is a shed, there's an existing shed at the upper field that he is requesting to replace. The new shed will likely be placed immediately adjacent to the old shed, the equipment moved, and then the old shed removed. And again, they're standard prefab sheds as well. The sheds are each under 200 square feet, so they would not require a building permit. So if the commission is agreeable and has no concern, then staff will move ahead and just coordinate this with the athletic director and not proceed with a formal site plan application unless the commission feels otherwise. Any questions?
Would this be handled by Public Works or would this?
It's probably going to be a combination of our public works and then the school facilities crew. So it's probably a hybrid collaborative project.
Okay. And so did you say concrete pads for the bleachers, but gravel
Correct.
for the sheds?
Correct. I think he said concrete. What did he say for the shed? Yeah, he's intending to put a concrete pad down for the shed as well. It may end up being stone. I mean, a lot of sheds go on a stone pad. He's indicated concrete. That could change. The bleachers, I think he indicated, yeah, the bleachers will be put down on a concrete pad.
Thank you.
Okay.
Makes
All
sense.
set. We'll
That's it. Go
proceed.
for it.
Okay, thank you. All right, just proceed. All right. Next up, we'll go in order. Signs are the first ones. And fully recognizing everybody's only seen this since Friday, right? You haven't had really any chance to digest this. So this truly is just an introduction for all three of these this evening. So this might feel a little bit like speed dating. But the intent is to introduce these. Certainly if there's initial questions, Garrett and I are happy to answer any initial questions. Introduce it. We can chat about it again at the next meeting, the July 13th meeting. I would like to have it as an item on the agendas on the 27th to be accepted for hearings to be set in September. So whether it be the September 14th or I'm going to assume 28th meetings. So either one, it should give us plenty of time to talk about these and banter them around. If we need more time, then we can take more time. But I figured introduction tonight, let you all play around with it over the next couple of weeks, and then if needed, a more detailed conversation in the July meetings. All right. The signs, I did not do a nice PowerPoint presentation for you like Garrett did for the other two. So the signs, you've got the track changes. Part of it is we had talked about a good chunk of these at differing points in time. And we took the opportunity to start to clean up some of the general text within these and get rid of things like character, right? We're not supposed to be talking about character of the neighborhood. And we talked about how to measure signs. So these are just some general text edits in this first section. We didn't change the purpose. Signs exempt from this section. We talked, flags had been in there originally, so flags have always been exempt. This wording has been re-scripted to be more inclusive and more aligned with some case law. We did cap it at a 40 square foot area and a 30-foot height. That's more for like a larger institutional. Obviously, you're not going to get that on a typical residential lot. You'll see that height and size on a more institutional area.
And is that where it says two? I read somewhere two flagpoles.
Two flagpoles, which that's what we had allowed previously, and up to technically 3 flags. You can fly 2 flags per pole, so it would technically be 4 flags, but yes, 2 flagpoles. That's what we had allowed previously. With the ability, I think the commission may approve sizes, pole heights, quantity, and flag display practices other than those described above. So there's some flexibility with review and approval on your part.
Shannon, would that include just like hanging a pole on a wall or a post like that isn't a flag?
No, we're typically talking like a full flag. I mean, yeah, I suppose somebody, again, on a residential, you'll see.
Yeah, right.
Not really. No, we're talking typically a flag pole.
Sorry, so that wouldn't be allowed, or you're just saying that would be regular?
It would not be, I mean, it's allowed. So these, again, these are permitted as of right. So they're right. I'm not going in.
Okay. I'll read more. I'll read it more.
House to house.
Right. We're not restricting flags on individual homes.
No, but like if a business wanted to hang, I'm just trying to figure out like.
So this is supposed to be a state or municipal flag, right? It's not a open sign. It's not an open, it's supposed to be a governmental flag. But we can't, again, we're tripping into the content of this. And so because of, no, I'm not the content of the reg, but the content, are the legal, from a legal standpoint, and what we can legally regulate from a content on a flag to what we can't. So if somebody wanted to if I'm going to allow somebody to fly the US flag, but then somebody wants to fly their charitable or philanthropic institution flag, I can't prevent them from flying their charitable and philanthropic and institutional flag. Or a pride flag or a.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, the root of my question was just to try to say like, if the purpose of the section is to regulate signage and we're defining flags under signage, does that mean we're regulating somebody putting a American flag on their business or house in the front, like just sort of, hung on the wall kind of thing? I'm not saying we should. I'm asking. if
Yeah,
that's
so
what
I
this
guess
says or what-
technically, yeah, so this was part of the regulation originally. So this is in the sign regulation originally
Right.
as a signs which are exempt from this section, and a flag.
Oh, I missed, sorry. I guess I missed.
So
that
it's
part. I'm
exempt, so
sorry.
this is an exempt.
That's the part I missed.
The
I'm so
signs
sorry.
which are exempt and are basically allowed by right. You can go do this anyway. So signs which are exempt.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
It's only when you want to start to put up like more than two and what like get. Okay. No, you're good. Again, I recognize you guys, this is the first time you're seeing it, and you would not have had a chance by the time you got through the applications, you would not have had a chance to go through most of these. So I recognize that.
But are we limiting them if we say they can't say open on their giant flag?
So technically, yeah, so that's something that I've got Bob DiCrescenzo taking a look at because I took exception to that. If we're allowing a business to have a sign on the business and a detached sign and we're not preventing somebody from advertising their business. I feel we should be able to limit the context of an open sign or a directional sign to, right? And so this pendulum swung way far to the other side, and not everything, if it's an open sign, it should just say open, right? It doesn't need to say everything else, or have insignias on it or emblems and whatnot. So Bob, we chatted with Bob. Bob, he understood where I was coming from. He thinks we may be able to have some limitations. He's looking further into the case law. So Garrett had done a whole bunch of edits that really took out all contextual references. I redacted some of that. So this version that you have does not have all of Garrett's original edits to it because I pulled back on open sign, directional sign. So this has some of those contextual edits to it, but I pulled back on probably 50% or greater than what Garrett had originally researched and did. So, so this is signs within the interior of a building. We talked, this is, again, open signs, is an illuminated sign indicating a business is open. I think that still says open sign. And we talked about here the illumination and the size of it, and that we don't want it to rotate and flash. So that's where we put that an open sign is permitted. Again, it's exempt, and not, it would not be regulated by the commission, assuming it fits these parameters. So it would be allowed by right. And then again, these are, it just finishes that zone or that section. D is signs permitted in a residential zone. We did not change anything there, except I changed one thing for a charitable and philanthropic institution not to exceed 6 square feet. Sign shall be located at least 15 feet from the edge of the roadway. Section E was attached signs for, rather than listing all the zones, we've simplified it and said all non-residential zones. And we have worked through some of the wording in the first paragraph with the respect to the second paragraph and the measurement of the building for attached sign. The wording I opted for was the front of the building shall be defined as the total building length along one axis. Axis being your XYZ axis, right? So if you're to slice that building, I felt that might be the easiest way to get out of this discussion of various jogs and fenestrations on the building. It was just an attempt. So I'm certainly open to conversations regarding it. I then removed the next sentence, which talked about attached wall developments on a shopping center and each business having direct access. At that point, I thought if it's a shopping center, then they divide it up by their square footage or how their tenant or lease agreement starts to work. But from our standpoint, it's the total, that length, that access line is the line. And that's your square footage that's allowed. As a building owner, you can divide that out among your tenants as you see fit. I'm also not married to that, but I took it out. We don't have to, that's up for discussion, but that's how I addressed those items. F, detached signs. Again, we said all non-residential zones, detached signs. So there are monument signs and pylon signs. I don't think we changed any. The only thing I changed was the up to 6 feet and the over 6 feet. Because the less than 6 feet was proof, or we'd get 5'11" signs, which just seemed silly. So up to 6 feet is 25 square foot allowance, over 6 feet and up to 10 feet in height is a 12 square foot allowance. And these references on C are just a clarifying mechanism to these B1 and B2 items above. And then in no case shall a sign exceed 10 feet in height. I said I added except as permitted in section L, which is that waiver that we've used on occasion when you've got topographic changes and there's waivers permitted for height or area for circumstances that an applicant presents. I got rid of shopping center or park development shall be allowed one additional detached monument sign at the primary entrance exceeding blah, 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 all that, and simply left this last one that said the commission shall determine the maximum number of detached signs permitted for each individual lot. It seemed duplicative. If you have the right to determine the maximum number of detached signs for an individual lot, if somebody wants for an office park to have an additional monument sign, then you're well within your right to consider it, and it will meet these parameters that are already noted above. Again, I'm happy to put it back in, or that's certainly open. And any of this is obviously open for discussion. Temporary signs. We got rid of this shall require a permit from the zoning enforcement officer. Over, I think there's 6 or 8 sections. The only one that we issue a temporary sign permit for are the charitable and educational group signs that go up when whatever the Rotary Club is having an event, or the Chamber of Commerce or the police department, or when Little League has signups. Those are the only ones that we do temporary sign permits for. The rest of the signs discussed, we don't do temporary sign. We never have. I mean, they're real estate signs. Sections 2 and 3 are real estate signs in essence. For section 2 is when it's a property or a new subdivision or an entire new complex or a substantial renovation. And then section 3 is basically for an individual lot, an individual home, or your traditional realtor signs. So, and then there were some numbering errors and discrepancies here, so we had to clean that up as we were reading through. Contractor sign for an active building project, and a new or relocated business in town, basically advertising that they're new to town or their new location. So we just, again, these are not new sections. We just tried to clean up some of the wording so it aligns with some of the practices that are in place. We left the traffic control signs in, off-site traffic control signs. Technically they go to our traffic authority. It's Russ Arnold, our town engineer. Illumination. Halo illumination is discussed specifically with specific parameters and specific locations. So you all can read through that, let it percolate around a little bit and see what you think about that and what you'd like to do. We did add it in for residential at the commission's discretions. Halo illumination may be implemented at a multifamily development of at least 50 dwelling units. It's an arbitrary number. We have allowed it. We felt it needed to be something of substance. You didn't want it on a duplex, right, or a triplex, but something of some notable size in order to warrant having a halo illumination. Directional signs got revamped a little bit as discussed. We had discussed previously and talked about, we edited some of the areas and talked about location and where they could be internal. And that I think this is a carryover from the original. When 2 or more directional signs are located at the same intersection, they'll be attached to the same post. The prohibited signs was updated. The portable or wheeled signs are actually permitted under G1 with the temporary signs. Like Winding Trails uses their wheeled sign out at their frontage, and the Tungus Hose uses it for Fireman's Carnival and a variety of things in the center of town. Those really are, I think, are the only 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. Halo signs are removed from the prohibited signs. Just added it back up in the illumination. And then section L, the exceptions, we didn't touch. So I think we've got the open signs, your attached signs, directional signs, halo signs are probably the bigger ones that we tinkered with. Most of the rest of it is just contextual cleanup. And I'll poke at Bob. I got a number of meetings this week and then I'm out the end of the week, but I will poke at Bob to get a response regarding how much latitude we have with the directional signs and open signs, or at least if he's okay from it's defensible for now standpoint, and we'll go with it. I know I hit that again, it's like a bad speed dating episode, but if there's any immediate questions, I'm happy to answer them. No, okay. We'll move on to a little bit to digest. Yeah. All right. Solar. Garrett, you want the PowerPoint?
Yep, that'd be great. Yeah, because it's got the whole regulation in there, so that's fine.
Okay. All right, ground mounted solar.
I believe Shannon mentioned this in the last meeting, that this was something staff was working on, as the zoning regulations don't explicitly permit ground mounted solar. We had been permitting them under a different regulation, but we figured it would just be best to create its own regulation. So
Can I ask
under
one quick opening
yes,
before we get into it, what's driving the need to even have this beyond what you've been using? What problem is this solving?
it's a clarity. Just to explicitly state that now you're allowed to have, we had been processing them as site plan applications, with this regulation we'll touch on. We had been doing it under regulation for ground mounted antennas. So the big satellite dishes that people used to have that people don't have anymore. And just creating its own regulations. That way we can say, this is what you're actually applying under, and this is the criteria you have to meet.
We'd been taking liberties and lumped it under the antenna, the satellite dish and antenna, ground mounted satellite dish and antenna regulation. So this is creating its own designated area for clarity and conciseness.
So this would be under the accessory buildings regulations. So this is where the shed regulation comes from, our pool setbacks, tennis courts, ground mounted antennas. I think there's one other thing in there. So we'd be adding it to this section. So it'll only apply to 1 to 4 family homes, this specific regulation. And it would be for arrays that are only for the residents. So as part of Eversource's interconnect permissions, you can't have a array that's larger than your documented energy needs. So they look at your electric bill for the year. This is more just to say that you can't just have a residential zone and put up a solar array to generate power without the other requirements being met. So this is only for 1 to 4 family homes, and they have to document to Eversource that this won't exceed what their needs is, so they're not generating more than they use. So you'll only be allowed to have it ground mounted if you can provide documentation that the roof isn't efficient to support the solar array, or it wouldn't be productive enough to reasonably install on the roof. We have had properties submit shade reports. So
if
I've got an
somebody
example.
wants a larger solar array though.
They can't. Eversource
Is
won't
it-
allow them, and it
Well,
wouldn't.
if they don't connect it to Eversource. You don't have.
That's on the. Well, this would limit you. The regulation explicitly
All
limits
right,
you.
so this regardless of how you're gonna use that power, whether you're gonna
Yep.
interconnect or not, the town is in a residential zone limiting them to that.
Yes, do not. Ground mounted solar arrays which do not exceed the approximate energy requirements for the property in which they are located.
Okay.
And then again, this would be through site plan approval, so it would come to you. It's not a by right. And I've got so they can just show a shade report, or if the house, obviously if the house has a north-south roof line, you want a south-facing roof. And I'll show you some examples, but unless you've got a south-facing roof, you generally are not generating enough power. It depends on the orientation and all your dormers and stuff like that. But they'd have to prove to you that they will not generate sufficient power located on the roof. We'd require that the arrays be located behind the longest rear wall of the house. So this is the same wording from our shed regulation. If it's in a corner lot, it has to be in the rear quadrant. I've got an example of that I'll pull up in a couple slides to kind of explain what the rear quadrant is. A through lot, it'd have to be in the middle third. I don't have an example of that, but it's kind of the same principle. So if you've got a 300-foot property line, street to street, 100 feet in on each side, that's your middle third. That's where you could put the solar array. It's also where you can put sheds and pools and all that stuff. I am proposing to add in a special permit process to waive some portions of the regulation. The arrays would still have to meet the primary structure setback, so it depends on the zone. But for a corner lot, giving some leeway for the location, still being behind the longest rear wall, but then allowing a little more leeway, because if you've got a corner lot, sometimes you've got a smaller backyard. If you're normally required to put it in that corner, it makes it a little difficult. So again, but it'd be a special permit process, so the neighbors would be notified. The sign will be posted out front. And then if you're in the R80 and R40 zones, if you've got a lot that's double the minimum lot size, it makes sense to kind of be able to put the solar array outside of where you would normally be required. And again, I've got 2 examples of that. When we actually have the public hearing and everything, I'll go through all the exact wording in detail, just so everyone is aware and for the record. And then just the last slide, we've got some dimensional requirements. So no matter what, you've got to be 25 feet from a street line. The array can't be more than 15 feet from the top of the panel. That's the same height requirement for our sheds. Must meet the side and rear yard requirements. That's what I just mentioned. And then as part of your approval, you can require landscaping to screen it, provided it doesn't impact the ability of the array to produce power. So you can't require them to put 6-foot arborvitaes right in front of the panels on the south facing side, but you're screening the back or the sides. So just some examples of some of these regulations. So this is a corner lot. It's on Talcott Notch and Northington Way. So this is the rear quadrant. So you divide the property halfway between all the property lines. It gives you 4 quadrants. This is the rear quadrant where they would be required. They would only be allowed to put a ground mounted solar array here. Just so everyone's aware, for orientation, this is actually flipped. So south is north. So the south facing side where the sun comes from is the north on this image, up on this image. So it'll rotate it 180 degrees. Then with the next slide, the area in green is what would be permitted by special permit for a corner lot. So outside of that rear quadrant, so they could push it further to the north, so that way they get more solar, because actually at the other side of this property is wetlands, so they wouldn't even be able to cut the trees, and it's not their property, so they wouldn't generate power anyway. So they have to provide a solar report that they need to put it in this other area, and then it would be a special permit process, and this would be for the corner lot. I've got 2 more examples for the oversized lots. So this is in the R40 zone. It's kind of an odd shaped lot. This red area would be where you're allowed by site plan. And if you scroll down to the next slide, So this would be the area allowed by special permit. So it allows some extra area. I've got a shade report for this property specifically, and it's got an aerial, so you see how densely wooded this property is. But the property is 100,000 square feet where 40,000 is required. So it's 2.5 times what the minimum lot area. So that would be, again, that'd be a special permit process, but allow them to put the solar array somewhere else. So Shane, you go to the next slide. So this is just part of a shade report for this property specifically. So they showed one array out in the yard. So you can see this lot's kind of heavily wooded, but they've got a field out in front up on Town Farm Road. So the array number one would be annual solar access of 89%. So that it's producing power 89% of the daylight hours that the array would get throughout the year. But the panels on the roof, because it's got a north-south ridge line, so there's no south-facing side of the roof, at most is generating 62%. On one section, you've got 58, 46, and 61. So you at a certain point, you're adding much more panels than you would need because they're not generating as much power. So again, sometimes with the ground mounted, you can get a smaller array. But again, you have to demonstrate that you wouldn't be able to meet your needs on your property. Another example, this property has not come in for solar at any point, but it's up on the ridgeline. So it's part of the ridgeline protection zone. So I thought this was a good example to show everyone. Again, R80 zone, so 80,000 square feet. The lot is 206,000 square feet. So again, it's 2.5 times. So we've got the ridgeline on the left, which is like the red and yellow, 75-foot setback, because it's a lot of record. So anything within that 75 to 150 feet requires special permit with you. But then anything on the other side of that 150 feet does not require review. So any tree clearing or things like that. Under the way the regulation is worded, this red line right here is the box-in area. That's the only place you'd be allowed a ground-mounted solar array. Also be visible from Town Farm Road because you'd see it because the ridge line. So allowing a special permit to put it on the other side of the house where it wouldn't be visible from the ridge line, and it might generate more power because you actually got more land area in the front. So that's just kind of the reasoning for that. In my 4.5 years as ZBA liaison, I've had 3 solar applications, all for outside of the required yard. The one on Town Farm was approved. The one on Talcott and Northington was denied, but it was actually in a different area than what is proposed with this regulation. And then the other application was also on Talcott Notch, but it was for a lot that was, I think it was 6 acres in the R80 zone, so 3 times the minimum. And again, they had it was an odd shaped house, a lot of conflicting roof lines. Even if they covered the whole house in solar panels, it wouldn't generate enough electricity, so they ended up with a ground mounted array. Kind of the idea is that if you start having multiple applications to ZBA for the same thing, it's not a hardship unique to the property. It's the regulation that probably needs to be looked at. In the future, we might revise the shed and pool regulations to kind of align with this new solar regulation. But at this point, just to make it easier, because we also have to get the House Bill Public Act text amendment through, we're just doing adding the solar at this point. Any questions on that? Again, I understand this is your first time seeing it, so when we get to the public hearing, we'll go through all over again.
So the text is posted to the website. Would all of you like the PowerPoint? We can get that posted to the website so you can see the examples. Would that be helpful? Yes. Okay.
That's no problem.
Yep, that's fine. We'll do that tomorrow for you then. All right. We saved the best for last, everybody. Does anybody need to stretch their legs?
Yeah.
This is probably going to take a solid half hour. So if anybody needs to get up or take a break, you may want to do this is going to take a little bit. And I apologize, but we got to do it. We will persevere. Yeah, except I can't remember my office number.
860-675-2535.
Thanks.
It's our town, it's the planning department phone number. The call centers have already found our town number. I can promise you that.
I'm like, I have like my cell phone number. I'm like, no, not the right one. And now that was in there, the other one was not going to come to me.
I don't remember your direct line.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Alrighty.
All right. So this next set of regulation changes is going to deal with primarily Public Act 25-1 of the November special session, which is also known as House Bill 8002, an act concerning housing growth. This is the big housing bill that was originally vetoed by the governor in June of last year, and then it was revised in the special session with some significant changes made. And now the act is effective, and we need to make some substantial changes to the zoning regulations to comply with this. So I do have a summary of all the changes that are proposed, just because it's essentially affecting almost every section of the zoning regulations. Even if it's minor, there's changes that need to be made. And I will go through all of those. I'm going to go through some information that CROG provided us as well, just to give you an idea of the primary sections that we're dealing with this regulation amendment. There's three. It has to do with housing and parking and mixed use. So we'll start with that, and then I'll go through some of the changes we're making. Next slide, Jen. So this is just the start of the CROG slides. Next slide. Sorry. All right. So under this act, one of the things that is now required is that the zoning regulations have to be amended to allow a transit community housing development, which is a development of 2 to 9 units in any commercial zone. There's also a requirement that if there's a mixed use zone, you have to allow mixed use. And this would be by summary review. So it would not be a special permit process. It would only be site plan with the commission still, provided that they still have to meet all of the bulk regulations. And then we'll also be adding some additional requirements that they'll have to meet that I'll get into at the end of the presentation. So this is any lot zoned for commercial or mixed use. In discussions with our town attorney, because our industrial zone refers back to all the commercial uses permitted in the business zone, it would apply to our industrial zone as well. So we're including the industrial zone in the amendments. And again, the goal is to kind of address some of these middle housing requirements of the smaller development sizes that might not otherwise be built in some of our standard residential zones. So the definition, Shannon, next slide. Thank you. A transit community middle housing is a residential building containing 2 to 9 units, including but not limited to townhouses, duplexes, triplexes, perfect sixes, which is 3 floors, 2 units each, and cottage clusters. So just on the right here, we've got some examples of what some of these developments are. This is provided from CROG. I think that's it for this one. And then the next section just deals with having to allow mixed use developments in zones that allow mixed use. This would be our Farmington Center and Unionville Center zones. And then second to last, summary review. So this is the requirement that transit community, middle housing, and mixed use developments, again, all up to 9 units, are permitted by summary review. So being able to be approved in accordance with the terms of the zoning regulations or regulations, including but not limited to requirements concerning setbacks, lot size, building frontage, applicable to proposed development, and without requiring that a public hearing be held, variance, special permit, or special exception be granted, or some other discretionary zoning action. So there's no public hearings. You can't decide you want a public hearing. It has to be through site plan review only. And you can only deny it if it's not in conformance with the regulations and that public health and safety would be substantially impacted.
Pause for a second.
Yes.
So somebody comes in, wants to put in a duplex, it's no longer come through us, it's summary review only.
Through a site plan, it would, and it would be only in the commercial, industrial, and mixed use zones. So residential zones remain unchanged. No changes are being done to our standard R9, 12, 20, 40, 80 zones, or 30, I forgot one in there. It would not affect any of our residential zones. It only applies to our commercial and mixed use zones.
Gotcha.
Next slide, Shane. And next one. This just talks a little bit about summary review. Another change is that for developments of 16 or less units, we cannot deny an application for lack of compliance with the parking regulation. So if it's 16 or less units, they provide the parking that they think is necessary. In the regulation, as you'll see, we provide a recommended parking because in Farmington, you probably are not going to be able to build a development without parking spaces because you're not going to be able to rent it out. So that's part of something that's been presented to us at some of our meetings, is that a developer still has to sell the development. So most people, if there's no parking, they're not going to look at it. So part of their own marketing is that they'll have to provide some form of parking. So these transit housing developments, and then again, any residential development up to 16 units, you can't require minimum you can't deny it for not meeting the parking regulation.
Yeah, just a very quick clarification. Does this apply only to new developments, or does it also apply to any non-conforming existing developments in these zones? If you know, and if not, we can take it offline.
It would
on your face. We can talk about it later.
No, it's so existing non-conforming remain. We don't touch that essentially. So we can't change the regulation and then say, all right, now you're in violation of the zoning regulations. Whatever was existing at the time the regulation was adopted, if they came in to change the property, then it would come into effect because now they need to comply with the regulation. Theoretically, if it's a 10-unit development and they wanted to add an 11th unit, we couldn't require additional parking for the property. Is that?
That was the scenario.
Yeah.
That's big.
The act originally said less than 16 units and greater than 16 units, so it wouldn't apply to 16 units. That was fixed in this past legislative session. So now it's 16 or less units, we can't require parking. Greater than 16, we can. And then the last change is that we can't require more than one space for a studio and 1 bedroom, or 2 spaces for 2+ bedrooms. Our regulations currently require 1.5 spaces for a 1 bedroom and 2 spaces for 2+ bedroom. And then there's some other caveats that'll all get wiped out and just comply with this state statute. The developer can also submit a parking needs assessment for their development and show that they actually need less parking than that. The example I'm going to use for that would be the 3 affordable housing developments that have been built in town. So that's going to be South Road, New Britain Avenue, and now proposed Scott Swamp. In that regulation, they could have a lower parking requirement if because they were able to demonstrate that a portion of the residents do not own vehicles. They have to use the bus, the bus that's provided by Favor for Transit. That's kind of how it would work. Showing that they don't need these spaces because of XYZ. Again, it's on the developer to be able to sell their development and rent it out. So that'll come into play. But again, I think in Farmington, you're probably not likely to see a lot of that just because of the transit options available. All right. So these are the zones that'll be affected by this state statute change. So it's our professional office, business restricted, business, industrial restricted, and then our Unionville and Farmington Center zones. So the biggest clump is going to be our industrial zone in the south section of town, but a lot that is developed. So unless you've got a vacant property, you're not likely to see these developments, especially in that section of town where it's actually pretty well developed. And then just the next map I have just shows all the open space in relation to this zone. So some of that industrial zone, especially about north of Route 6 and west of New Britain Avenue, is owned by the state as open space. So it can't be developed. So that kind of takes out a good chunk of the land that falls into this regulation. I do have a chart that shows all what percentage of the town's land these zones make up. So business restricted is 1.68%. Business 1 is 0.58%. Professional office 1.74, industrial restricted 4.62, industrial 1.74, and then the Farmington Center is 0.09%, and Unionville Center is 0.34%.
But Garrett, this would open up the potential for redevelopment of occupied parcels, correct? Either in the same structure,
Yes.
repurposing it, or
Right, but it would again unless you've got a vacancy for a long time, it's probably not likely to happen. And again, it's capped at 9 units. So if you've got a larger industrial building, you can only put in nine units.
So some things are 9, some things are 16. So
9 is for the summary review for residential units. 16 is for parking. Yeah, it's all over the place. It's confusing. It's taken months to figure out exactly what we had to do.
Thank you.
The summary of changes is 3 pages long, just so everyone's aware. So there's a lot that needed to happen. All right.
Someone comes along, I'm just saying, like the industrial review, and they wanna, it's a small manufacturer, and they wanna turn it into 8 units or something. They still have to go through things like environmental reviews and all that sort of.
Yes, that'd be part of their own. That's on the private side. Yes, yeah.
So like if it's been handling mercury.
Right. They'd have to ensure that there's no remediation. It's not a toxic site, or there's no land use restrictions. Because sometimes when there's remediation done, there's land use restrictions placed on the property, so they can't be used for residential in the future. That would still apply. This cannot supersede those land use restrictions. So just the 2 main things that are going to change is a change to our parking regulation, and then some development standards for these developments. So that's all I'm going to just present to you tonight. Again, when we have the actual public hearing, for the record, I will go through everything and point out what's part of this, and everything like that. So first off is the parking regulation. Again, single family detached home, 2 spaces per home, multifamily, as I said, and then in the RDM zone, there was different requirements. That'll all be taken away, and it'll just say containing 16 or less units provided at the recommended ratio below, and then more than 16 units, 1 space for a studio and 1 bedroom, 2 spaces for a 2-bedroom, unless a parking study is provided and submitted and approved by the commission. There's other parking regulations in that section for the commercial uses. That's not going to be changed at all. We're just looking at it. Only applies to the residential, and that's all we're proposing to change. As part of this, we're going to propose some special regulations for these developments, and this has been conveyed to us that this is something we can do. So these are additional requirements that developers will have to comply with. For new construction, we'll give them some leeway for renovation or or refitting of an existing building. But for new construction, they'll have to comply with these regulations. We did present this to the Architectural Design Review Committee to get some input from them, because some of this deals with architectural features and materials and things like that. So we're going to get some input from them and then revise it accordingly as part of that, based on their input as advisory to TPZ. So this section is going to be section 31. It is going to replace our medical marijuana moratorium that expired in April of 2015 and has just been sitting in the regulations. So 11 years on, it's time to repeal that. And then we'll put in this new transit community middle housing development that has these additional development standards. So it references back to the Public Act. Density, unless it's otherwise stated, it'll be capped at 8 units per acre. Again, these developments still have to meet the bulk requirements. So I think all of these zones affected, aside from the center zones and business 1, have a 1 to 2 acre minimum lot size. So it still has to be a conforming lot. B1 is the only lot that is, I think it's 20,000 is the minimum. So you'd be capped at 4 units. It's net acre. So you take out 75% of the area of wetlands and slopes greater than 33%. That's a metric that's used throughout our regulations. As part of these text amendments, we're just going to add a definition at the front in the definition section. It'll still be referenced in other sections. They all basically say the same thing. They're all worded differently for some reason. Again, it's just something consistent so that all developments have to be similar. Proposing maximum roof pitch, certain roof styles, unless you're in the Farmington Center or Unionville Center zone. Exterior materials, brick, stone, lap siding, board, batten, shingles. Glass can't be a majority. We don't want concrete blocks, stucco, drive it. It's kind of those cheap looking building materials. Got requirements for how long a certain face of the building can be. Mechanical equipment needs to be screened. Mixed use developments, commercial has to be a minimum of 60% of the first floor to kind of make sure it's an active street safe. You can't just throw in one commercial unit and say it's mixed use and I'm good in our center zones. Let's see. Impervious coverage, again, meeting the underlying zones. That's your 40%, up to 50% by 5/6 vote. Lighting requirements, downcast, dark sky, no more than 12 foot, and capping at 4,000 Kelvin, 3,000 Kelvin, I'm sorry. And then landscaping will just comply with Article 5, Section 13, which is our landscaping regulation. We do have some added buffer requirements. So now, in the current regulations, if you're an industrial zone abutting a residential zone, you've got a certain buffer requirement that you have to meet. It's our B or C buffer. If you're proposing this in a industrial zone and you abut a residential zone, you'll still have a buffer requirement. It'll be a different buffer requirement, but you'll still have to provide a buffer requirement. Also, if you've got a neighboring industrial, you're putting this development, now you've got to shoulder the burden of this buffer between the residential and the industrial, as opposed to now making the industrial the one that needs to comply. Again, New Britain Avenue Opportunity Zone, the affordable housing development, the landscape buffer that would normally be on the industrial side is on the housing side to provide the buffer to the residents from the industrial. So we put that caveat in there that they had to provide the buffer just for the residents, as opposed to the industrial site being non-conforming because it didn't meet that requirement. Again, the architectural stuff has been submitted to our ADRC to review, and we'll get their input on that. As part of the text amendment, we'll remove some of the ancillary parking requirements throughout. So some zones have different parking requirements. Those will all get removed, and I'll just refer you to Article 4, Section 8, which is our parking regulation. There's also a Public Act in 2021, Public Act 2129, which prohibited us from requiring a minimum floor area. Since we're going through and making all these changes, we're going to remove that as well to comply with that. And then there'll also be a couple of administrative changes throughout the regulation to kind of clean up some sections and stuff that's no longer relevant. Some of it is part of this, some of it's not. But if we're going through making huge changes to the regulation, there's a couple that we just threw in there. Again, I will go through everything and explain it all when we have the actual public hearing. Any
And
questions?
That full text change was posted, correct?
Yes.
That's the first, so that's, and that's so it shows up, and that one was posted and it shows as the full zoning regulation.
Yes.
we'll post this presentation as well, but this presentation obviously is much more focused than what the regulation is. And then this is the summary. I believe this got posted.
Which
too,
is
the
also
summary
posted
of
to the website.
changes. So this is what Garrett was speaking of with the three pages. So the Public Act 25-1 changes are underlined and 21-29 are bolded. So you could print this and then go through with this the actual amendment document here and kind of walk yourself through everything as you go through this and take a look and go side by side. But it's 233 pages is the zoning regulation. So, but having the summary document is going to be critical in going through and understanding where the changes are and why, the genesis of the change, because it's explained in the summary document. So there you go.
And
It took 20 minutes.
And we're gonna have a hearing on that in September, is that right?
The idea is that all three we would do in September, maybe not the same. I'll see what else comes in. Maybe do the signs and solar in one and then this one in another. But yes, that would be the intent, is to try to get these wrapped up. Because also what'll be happening in the fall is we will be actively discussing the POCD and starting to engage in that process. And there'll be some public participation. I'm envisioning online surveys and design charrettes, and the timing of all those things and what it's all going to look like is obviously still in flux, but it will be kind of ramping up as we go through the fall. Probably not so much in September, but there'll probably be more engagement opportunities October, November, December, is what the anticipation is. So there's a little bit of little light reading to do. All right.
If you have any questions, email Shannon. Shannon will.
Very helpful presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for
Very.
plowing through that.
Yeah.
That makes it so much more accessible.
I'm glad.
All right.
All right.
So, and yeah, you don't have to wait till the next, if you've got questions in between, if you're starting to putter at this because you're really vamping for something to read on a sunny summer weekend, you feel free to send them through as you're coming to them. We're happy to answer them along the way. So whatever works for all of you. Okay. We know it's a lot. So. Alrighty. That's all. I think that's plenty from planner's report.
Something for a little more.
Do you have any thoughts on like a schedule? I'm sure you do on for the aquifer protection renewals this year, because that's this fall.
That's going to be this fall too,
right?
so that's going to be September. So Garrett is actually making phone calls starting this week to try to make sure, so because we have some that haven't come in.
Notices were sent out in March, April, and everyone was given till July 1st because some of these properties hire environmental consultants to update. So a big property like Dunning hires an environmental consultant to take care of all the paperwork for them. Everyone was given a July 1st deadline to submit their paperwork, so that way it gives us time to process, perform inspections, any reports we need to do, any corrections that need to be made prior to bringing it to TPZ / Aquifer Protection Agency in the fall. I think almost all of the registrations expire end of October of this year. So the goal would be late September, early October at the latest.
Thank you.
So yeah, and some of them, if it lingers into November, it lingers. And I
understood
shrug my
you said that.
shoulder. That's not a dismissive shrug. I understand some of them might take a little more discussion, and we'll take the necessary discussion that the properties require. Some of them will be more straightforward, and that's how they've been as we've done each of the renewals. Some of the businesses, they have a more comprehensive approach than others. And to a certain extent, we need to work with them to take what they're able to do. So, but yeah, that will be this fall as well.
Thank you.
I know. Lots of, meetings done by 8:30
Yeah.
in the morning.
We're doing what we can.
Yes.
No, you guys are doing wonderful work, and I'm so impressed with the data crunching that you guys are able to do and present it to us in an approachable form. And I'm sure I speak for all of us. Thank you, thank you, thank you again. So that's just, it's hard. Okay, so all we have left is minutes, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion to
Okay.
approve the minutes of the June 8th, 2026 Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Aye, me. I wasn't there, so.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.